channel view high school from the stadium. We've seen the funnel cloud, probably the same funnel cloud that we've seen going elsewhere. And we're continuing to track that now into Liberty County. So this line of strong storms, I'm just going to kind of focus on that one more time here. We're looking at those moving into Galveston Bay right now. And I think we're going to go ahead and get back to our anchor desk and check in with Caroline at this point in time.
Yeah, JD, thank you so much for that update. I am told that we should have someone on the phone right now from Pasadena Independent School District.
Yes, I'm here.
Hi, Art Del Barrio, PIO with the school district. Can you tell me what's going on right now?
Well, right now, school's going to be let out in just a few minutes, but about an hour to 30 minutes ago, we had shelter in place at all our campuses, and our kids are all safe considering the weather. There was a lot of tornadoes in the area, and luckily, everybody on all our campuses are safe.
No, definitely a large school district with a lot of students to worry about. Again, this is Art Del Barrio with the Pasadena Independent School District, a PIO with the district. So you had a shelter-in-place order. What time does school normally get out?
It varies campus to campus. We've got elementaries, intermediate, middle schools, and high schools. Everybody gets out at a different time. So it's anywhere between 2:30 and 3:45. So
are students able to now leave school safely?
Yes, parents can pick up their kids now at school, but we were in a shelter in place. Everybody just had to be indoors, away from windows, and wait it out.
Now, what was the power situation throughout this at some of your campuses? Did we lose power?
We lost power throughout the district sporadically. Even here in my office, 1 minute we didn't have power. It was off and on. It was sporadic, and the entire district was going through that.
Any damage that happened to any of the buildings?
Well, right now we're in complete assessment of any damage, but we have some reports of some windows out at the CLC, which is adjacent to the Beverly Hills Intermediate campus, and then we've heard about uprooted trees. With some cars were moved in some parking lots, and that's the information we're getting. But until we do a complete, thorough assessment of all of our campuses, then we'll have a much better idea of what transpired. The number one thing we really want to say is our staff is safe, our students are safe, and we were very, very fortunate to the way things went.
Art, I do want to ask: is this going to impact school tomorrow for any of the campuses?
I don't believe it will impact school tomorrow. It looks like everything will be running, but once again, we still are assessing. We need to look to see if there's any severe damage. There doesn't appear to be any severe damage to any of our campuses. We have no reports of any severe damages to any of our campuses, and it looks like school will be on again tomorrow as normal. The only thing right now is some of our buses are delayed to pick up the kids, as we did hold the buses back in the bus barn during the storm. So things are going on. Things are going out there a little late, and there has been some building damage, but not classroom damage to any of our schools.
Okay, that's important information for parents waiting for kids to get home on the bus. Some of those buses had to be held back in the Pasadena district. So if you're waiting for your kids, that might be delayed. School is set to go on tomorrow. The students, how are the students and teachers holding up? You said they're all safe, but I'm sure there had to be some tense moments as winds and flooding and everything was going on.
We're a very resilient district. We've made it through Harvey. We've made it through several floods. We just have a very resilient team here in our atmosphere in our district. I think we do enough safety drills throughout the year. I believe everyone's doing well. Everyone's just glad to be safe, and we'll move forward from this.
Well, I know you guys serve, Southeast Harris County, Pasadena, south of Houston, just a major portion of our viewing area here. We're so glad that you are safe. This is Art Del Barrio with the Pasadena ISD. We appreciate you calling in and giving us that update. Again, some of those students might be a little late getting off the bus as they had to hold back some of the buses during this weather event, but school should go on tomorrow. It was good chatting with you.
Likewise.
Thank you. All right, now I'm going to send it over to Rashi Vats. She's in with an update on the power situation. A lot of people without power right now.
That's right, there are. And you were talking with Pasadena ISD. They were talking about power outages with certain school districts. And that was the case also for Katy ISD. I know several schools were without power for some time, so it really did panic a lot of parents. But the good news is that these districts always contact the parents, keeping them updated on what is going on. In fact, we want to update you right now on those power outages because it's been an issue ever since the storm started early this morning. I can tell you the good news is that the storm seems to have passed and it seems like the number is going down. Now, currently we're looking at about 99,162. Now, the last time I looked at this was literally 2 minutes ago and it was way over 102,000. So it looks like they are progressing very fast. Also, you can see that the amount that were restored in the past 24 hours, a little more than 100,000. So they are moving pretty rapidly. And I want to show you this map because it clearly identifies where we're seeing the most power outages, and you can see it is in the main area of Pasadena, which we were talking about, 69,000 currently. We also have some in West University Place, Bel Air area at 5.6, which is 5,600. So it looks like things are getting a lot better, Caroline, and we'll be keeping posted on all of these things. And the other thing that we're also seeing is all these CenterPoint Energy crews that are out and about right now, and they are trying to fix all of those power lines. So something that when we talk to them, they always tell us for people, the public, to sort of leave them alone, let them do their job. And if you do have to report any power outages, you can report them at CenterPoint Energy. And we have all of that information on our website, fox26houston.com. Caroline?
Yeah, definitely. Good time to download our news app. Maybe you're watching on your web browser. Download our news app. Make sure to follow all of our teams of meteorologists. They're working hard right now tracking this system. I know that some of them are back in the studio seeing what's going on right now. So you are looking at this radar. We have tornado warnings throughout the eastern part of our viewing area. And about what time will those let up? Does anyone know? Mike or Ramisha?
Is my mic open? Am I on TV? Okay, thanks. I'm going to just sort of wrap things up here real quick. Ramisha Shade is standing by, but I just wanted to let everybody know from what I'm seeing right now, for 90% of you, the threat has passed. We're really just concerned about this area right along the coastline. So coastal Brazoria, coastal Galveston County, and then of course Chambers and Liberty County. It's still going to be rough. A lot of lightning, some high winds, some heavy rain, but it should move out of here within about an hour for those of you. Now, in Houston, we still have some flooding that's ongoing, and that is going to be an issue for you probably for the next couple of hours until everything drains off the streets. And so please use extreme caution. Again, headed to the school to pick up the kids, driving home from school or from work this afternoon. Expect some flooded roadways. Of course, we'll have a lot of details on that. You can expect some down power lines we're hearing about from Pasadena, and there has been some extensive damage over in the Pasadena area from the tornado that passed through. And to Caroline's question, the tornado threat basically is ending right now. Yes, we still do have a possible tornado in far eastern Liberty County, but that's going to be moving out, and I think we are turning the corner toward saying goodbye to this for the vast majority of the area. So stay vigilant there along the coastline and east of Houston. I'm going to hand over the reins to Ramisha, who's done an outstanding job today, and she's going to get you up to date on what's happening now, and we'll kind of talk about also, some of the light at the end of the tunnel.
Thank you, Mike. You've done an excellent job as well. Of course, that was our chief meteorologist, Mike Iskovitz, who's been here literally all morning into the afternoon. He's done a great job as well, and this has been a very dangerous weather day. The good news for our area, things are finally starting to calm down for the majority of you. However, off to the east, as we push down towards Galveston and east of Houston and just east of Liberty, things are still going downhill. We've still got some very heavy rain, a lot of lightning, strong to severe storms. Galveston, you are still in that severe thunderstorm warning at this point. So still the potential for some wind gusts here around 60 miles per hour. You can see the torrential rainfall coming down, but the best news that I have for you in Conroe, the Woodlands, Sugar Land, Houston, where you were hit so hard earlier today, the worst is over. You could still see a lot of flood advisories, those areas of green that I have outlined on this map, those are flood advisories, and they will stick around for at least another 2 to 3 hours for the majority of you. But the tornado threat, as Mike just mentioned, is starting to go down. Just a low chance that we could have a brief tornadic spin up in our eastern spots over towards Galveston and into portions of Liberty County, but even there, the threat is going down. I am guessing that we're going to see a lot more of these icons popping up as we go through the evening. Those are confirmed tornadoes. There's one over around the Eagle Lake area near Columbus, but we also have several other tornadoes that have been reported. They just have not officially popped up on this map just yet, but as we go through the evening hours, they will certainly start to populate because we've already had confirmation of several tornadoes that touch down in the area. So of course we'll be giving you updates and information on damage and where those tornadoes touch down, and the National Weather Service has already confirmed that they will be mobilizing and sending out crews in the morning to those areas where we did have reports of those tornadoes. What was the setup for today? Why did we have all of this severe weather? Well, we had a lot of instability. We had a lot of spin in the atmosphere, a lot of lift, a lot of moisture, very strong winds in the upper levels of the atmosphere. And when that heavy rain started to come down, that allowed some of that strong wind to come down, and some of these storms did start to spin. And we always thought the highest risk would be from Houston down towards the coast, and that's where we've had the worst of the weather. Of course, we had a confirmation of a tornado in the Pearland area in Deer Park, and we continue to see that threat fortunately starting to go down. So Futurecast showing over the next couple of hours these storms moving out. So by 5 o'clock, 5:30 p.m., 6 o'clock, these storms should be off to our east and things will start to calm down. There will still be flooding out there, so if you don't have to be out there for the next few hours, try to avoid driving, but if you do, take it slow, be careful, because several of those roads are flooded and some roads out there are impassable. Let's head back over to the news desk and see what's happening with the latest with these storm reports.
All right, Ramisha, thank you. I am joined now by Jason Calder, a Baytown PIO with the city. Jason, can you hear me? It's Caroline Collins.
I can. How are you doing?
Well, how are you? Are you safe?
We are safe, and luckily a lot of our residents took heed to the warnings that you and others have put out. And, we haven't had many reports of any serious injuries or anything worse than that.
Now, this tornado was heading right towards Baytown. What did you see? What did you hear?
Well, initially, like any tornado that I've been a part of in the past, I've had a few experiences. There was a lot of heavy wind, a lot of rain, blinding rain, and then next thing you know, we're losing power at City Hall and making our plans to protect our employees, and then trying to make sure that our residents still had the accurate information.
We're showing images on the screen right now. It looks like a whole lot of damage. I'm not sure of the exact location that we're showing right now, but what are you seeing now that this tornado has passed?
So there are several reports of down power lines. We've had some lights, street lights have some issues there. We've had damage reports to several of our buildings around town, or down trees at the Baytown Nature Center. We've had, several houses with structure damage. The extent of those, kind of varies. There were some brief entrapments, and those people were rescued. But yeah, overall, kind of what you would expect to see, unfortunately, after a severe situation like this. So
what's the plan now? What do you know so far? Are fire crews or rescue crews, cleanup crews? What's going to happen from here now that this threat is dissipating?
Yes, once the situation dissipated enough for our first responders to get out, you better believe that they were out there trying to help as quickly as possible. So they are in that mode right now. We are getting great reports from them from the scenes. That's the mode right now, and then we move into, seeing what else we can do to help our residents.
This was so frightening just to have a tornado like this go through Baytown and the surrounding areas. It's something that you really can't prepare for. What's the biggest concern at this point?
To me, the biggest concern is making sure that we have prepared everybody as much as possible, but at the same time, getting resources to those people who need it most. It's unfortunate the time that it happened. There's a lot of concerned parents out there. Luckily, our students were safe. Our school district was smart and aware and alert, and so were the area school districts. And everybody took heed to the watches and warnings this morning and this afternoon. And now we go into seeing what we can do to help those that were impacted.
I mean, from what we've been tracking, this came through about the time that students would have been getting let out of school. What happened with the school districts in your area? Did a shelter-in-place order go in, or how did they handle that?
Yes, especially, and I won't speak for them completely, but I can tell you that a shelter-in-place was issued in order to protect their staff as well as the students, as well as the parents involved. And so that they were watching getting the same information that we were getting in order to make those decisions. And a great decision they made by keeping the kids at school. Now,
I know you are a PIO with the city. You're not with the school districts. Do we know, are the schools okay? Is school going to happen tomorrow? Have you heard anything of that nature?
I have not been made aware of that. The last report I received was that kids were being allowed to reunite with their parents after school, but beyond that, I haven't heard anything.
The damage so far, though, what we see in these images, I mean, we're looking at houses. This house that I'm looking at, from what I can see on my screen, I mean, it looks like there's not even a roof on it. Some of these areas got devastated.
Several people, unfortunately, will not have roofs when they go back to their house tonight.
My gosh, it looks horrible. It's so sad. There's trees down, there's roofs missing, damage to these buildings. I don't have an exact location on what we're looking at on our screen right now, but it is Baytown, and it looks really, really bad. Any reports of any severe injuries that you've heard of?
We haven't had any reports of any severe injuries. Again, we've had a few mentions of some possible scrapes and that sort of thing, but luckily we haven't heard anything major at this time. We're very fortunate for that.
What about, were there any fires that were caused by the storm?
Yes, we did have to respond to a few structure fires. Again, once those happened and once the weather was appropriate to where firefighters could get out, they did and responded to those fires.
I think we're looking at an image right now. Yeah, it looks pretty bad.
Yeah.
Are all your first
several of those fires are reported out, but we still have crews monitoring, those situations.
What about the flooding in the area?
There has been flash flooding in the area. A lot of that has receded already. I can't speak for the entire city of Baytown. I can only tell you on the roads that I drove in order to get here from City Hall to the Emergency Operations Center. But a lot of that flooding has receded on some of the major roadways, and hopefully will recede in other parts soon.
These images that we're showing are just devastating, from damaged buildings to the firefighters working to put out fires. I mean, it's hard to say at this point, but this seems like it's going to take a lot of effort to get this all cleaned up.
I imagine it will, and unfortunately, this happened to some of our residents, some of our business and industry leaders, and we will all work together to get this resolved as quickly as possible, get roofs back on houses, and the city will do its part.
Well, it's great to hear that the students, as far as you know, they were sheltering in place. They are safe. School has just let out. Everybody should be good to be picked up at this point. I know this hit at a really crazy time on a Tuesday in the middle of the school day or in the work day when a lot of people are out and about. So we really appreciate all the information that you gave us, Jason, with Baytown City. We hope that you're okay. We hope that everybody in that area is okay. And our thoughts are with those people who are returning to homes that might not have a roof on it or are super damaged. So thank you for spending some time chatting with us. This is important information for our viewers.
You're very welcome.
All right, stay safe.
You too.
All right, now I think we're going to check back in on the weather side of things as we continue to follow this tornado warning that is dissipating throughout the area, but we have been dealing with since earlier this afternoon. It's been a very scary situation for a lot of our viewing area. Ramisha Shade is back in.
This is something that just doesn't happen here that often, where you have the potential for these dangerous, large, long track, long-lived tornadoes. But this was the setup that we had for today. That's why we were trying to emphasize over the last few days that this would be a particularly dangerous situation today, where we could have some of these stronger tornadoes. And unfortunately, it looks like that has happened. We've had reports of confirmed tornadoes around Sienna, around Baytown, around Pearland, and there will likely be more coming in. And of course, we will bring you the latest as we get those. National Weather Service will be sending out crews tomorrow morning to survey the damage where we have had confirmation of tornadoes. But for now, I want to update you on what's happening with these strong to severe storms. The good news, the worst of it, over the next 1 to 1.5 hours will be completely out of the entire area. So things will start to calm down. But if you are in Galveston right now, you still are under a severe thunderstorm warning due to the fact that we've got a big line of storms pushing through with the potential for damaging wind, maybe around 60-65 miles per hour. Along with that, a lot of dangerous lightning and torrential rainfall. That's the other big issue with these cells. So we've got this severe thunderstorm warning down around Galveston. We've got several flood advisories covering the majority of the area, including Houston, the Woodlands, Conroe, Katy, and down close to Angleton as well. So the good news is that the heaviest rain has pushed off to the east, but you can still see where we have this severe thunderstorm warning, and this does include Galveston. It includes the Bolivar Peninsula as well, and this will continue unless it's canceled early for about another 17 minutes or so. So if you are in Galveston, you don't need to go outside right now. You still need to stay in your safe place, your safe spot, interior room, lowest level. Try to stay away from those windows. That lightning is dangerous. The potential for the damaging wind is dangerous. And you've got the threat for flooding as well. So you don't want to go hop in the car and go run errands right now. Just give it another hour or so, and at least this main line will be out of here, and we'll just have to deal with any residual flooding that we get from what we've already had. Over towards the Bolivar Peninsula, you can see the dark reds, the yellows, indicating that very heavy rain that continues to just sit right over you. So at this point, I would recommend, if you are around the Bolivar Peninsula, if you are around Galveston, just try to stay inside until these storms pass. We also have several flood advisories, as I've mentioned, and you can see those. We also have this main line finally starting to push out of the majority of the area, but even outside of that line of strong to severe storms, we've got wind gusting near 40 miles per hour out at Houston Hobby Airport, 40 mile per hour gusts with the aftermath of that tornado in Pearland, 49 mile per hour gusts in Galveston with this big squall line. So still the potential for more power outages and more damaging wind. So this is still certainly a dangerous situation. I don't want to leave out the flooding aspect of this, because we have had a lot of rainfall. In fact, several inches of rain being estimated by our radar just from the late morning through the afternoon. 3 to 6 inches being estimated, extending from Spring to Katy down to Sealy and up towards Waller. So a ton of rain has fallen. Be careful. Just stay where you are for the next few hours if you can.
All right, Ramisha, thank you so much for the update as we continue following this severe weather ripping through our area. I'm told right now we have Tom Ziska, who is live on the west side near the West Loop, I believe. Tom, what are you seeing and where are you?
Well, I was just listening to Ramisha speak. Answer to your question, we are on Beech Nut at the West Loop. West Loop that way. Beech Nut heads into the city in that direction. And looking behind me, this is a story of high water collecting where high water collects when the rain falls as quickly as it falls. Ramisha talking about a rainfall of 3 to 6 inches as quickly as it came down. This is fairly typical when it happens here in Houston. The street flooding that is typical and common over year. Well, it happened again. This stretch on Beech Nut is high water as well. People still trying to drive through, as they often try to do. The guy in the BMW, he tried, he failed. And we watched from afar. We could not get to him, but he had a young son with him, and they trudged through the water to safety. I think they're in that IHOP on the other side of that BMW. But we headed out as the storms moved in. We were at first headed west out toward Katy and Sealy, and we had hail, we had cloud-to-ground lightning, and lots of wind and lots of rain. But at the end of the day, watching as we drove around, there was no damage, really. It was just a heavy rain event, but there was some slight ponding on the roads. Not a lot of people on the roads. They heeded the caution to stay away from it. But then that storm moved here into the Houston area, and we got millions of drivers. Millions of people aren't staying off the road, so this is what happens in these spots. I did talk to one woman over near Wesleyan and Bissonnette. She was taking pictures of it all. I said, "So what do you think?" She said, "I just came from Southern California where we had rain. It was nothing like this. Does this happen all the time?" Not all the time, but fairly frequently, sadly enough. And in a couple of hours, this high water will, if the rain stops, this high water will be gone and this traffic will be moving normally again. For now, we're live on the west side at Beach Nut in the West Loop. Tom Ziska, Fox 46 News.
Wow, Tom, thank you. Definitely a lot of water that you could see there behind Tom. I did get word that the ground stop at Bush International Airport was lifted. The ground stop at Bush International Airport was lifted. So that's good news as the storm system continues to move out of the way. I also got word that Shell Deer Park Chemicals is reporting that there is no threat to the community there. So if you're in that area and there's something happening, there's no threat to the community with the Shell Deer Park Chemicals. Our team continuing to follow this storm as it moves out. They were saying that by 5 o'clock, we should be in somewhat of a clear. Definitely still dangerous, though, to see all of the areas that are flooding and the waters on the road. So if you are out and about driving, you do need to be careful. Before we went to Tom, we did speak with a Baytown PIO, and he was saying that the damage is pretty bad in that area. The tornado actually went right through Baytown. We were showing images of several what looked like housing buildings or apartments with a whole lot of damage. One looked like it even didn't have a roof on it. So it's a different situation depending on which area of the greater Houston area you are located in, because the images that we were seeing from Baytown did look pretty bad. It looks like now on your screen, you're looking just at some really gray skies and some clear roadways, which is good. But of course, be careful if you're out and about driving. One of the scariest situations about this weather event was it did happen in the middle of the workday or in the middle of the school day. A lot of local school districts did go on shelter-in-place orders. In fact, we did speak with a Pasadena PIO who said that school district ended up going into a shelter-in-place order. Everyone's safe and the kids are able to go home. Some of the bus drivers, though, and the buses may be delayed because of the weather and the flooding and things of that nature. I think this image that you're seeing on the right side of your screen is from Baytown. You can see the damage on the roofs up there as we look at that. Just a scary situation for so many as this is Southeast Harris County that you're looking at right now on the right side of your screen. So you can see how much damage that this tornado has caused. If any of our meteorologists are ready for another update, I can toss it over to you. But until then, the damage that many parts of our viewing area is experiencing is just crazy.
Is my mic on?
Rashi, you were tracking some power outages a little bit ago. Over 100,000 people at one point were without power, but it looks like things are kind of getting better.
Yes, obviously you can see that it can be very, very disruptive if you don't have power, especially with the schools. So it was really worrisome for so many parents. I know there were a lot of friends that were talking amongst each other, and also there were groups and emails going out. Even now, I just got an email from my child's school district talking about how they are going to have delayed with sending the kids back off. I'm sure that after school activities for that school district was canceled, and there are some for others. You know, really, Caroline, the big concern right now is now the traffic and rush hour traffic and all of the flooding. right outside of our studios, it was hard for me to get here. There's a lot of flooding in the West Atlanta area where we saw Gabby Hart reporting live for us there. And you can see with this TransStar camera shot, seems like on the highway things are going just fine. But, you know, people are so used to those areas that actually get all of that flooding that they know to just get an alternate route. Also, some of them going the opposite direction on the roadway, on the feeder road there, or just finding another route. And it really is scary. Sometimes I was like, there's a questionable area here and you don't want to drive through water that is pretty high. So there were people with lower cars that kind of stopped on the side, even some that were in our parking lot. So and that was something that they were doing. So driving, again, this water isn't going to recede yet. It's probably in the stages of doing so, but in about an hour or so, we're going to be in the thick of rush hour traffic. So it's going to be hard. The highways seem to be doing just fine. Houston TransStar camera, before I got up here, looked at all of the locations, and it seemed like traffic was moving smoothly. It's just when you get on those feeder roads, that's when you get those problem areas and that ponding that really does affect your driving. And also for all the school buses are probably going to be delayed as well. Now, we are going to turn to our meteorologist pretty soon to talk more about how this rain is kind of subsiding and away from the Houston area. You're taking a live look on the right side of our screen where we have one of our photographers driving through the rain, and it just looks like, wow, only an hour and a half ago it was just torrential downpour, and now it seems to be a lot better. So that's the good news there. And the good news is that when I checked with CenterPoint Energy just about a minute ago, the update was that there were at least 3,000 to 4,000 that were back with power. So the main concern was in the Pasadena area, since we had the most damage there. I'm sure that's probably why we saw just about 10 minutes ago 62,000 plus that were without power, and so that number continues to go down, and hopefully a lot will be restored by the time the sun does set, because that gets really hard.
And then Houston TransStar is also, you can look at where the high water locations are. So there's quite a few listed on here at the moment.
Right.
It's a good resource, though, if you know you have to get in your car and drive somewhere.
Yes.
Check this out, because you want to avoid these high water areas.
And the big thing is that the lanes affected, as you notice, they're all the shoulders or the entrance ramp, the frontage road lanes. So these, again, the low-lying areas. So when you're going, onto the highway or getting off, that's where you're probably going to see some of that.
And as we're going to move into the darker hours of the evening, you need to be careful. It is hard to see water on the roadways sometimes. It's hard to tell exactly what you're driving through. If you're not sure, try to take another route, stop. Just make sure that you're not putting yourself or others in any danger while you're out on those roads driving. Like 10 East westbound after Jensen Drive, there's 2 frontage road lanes that are pretty flooded, and the list just kind of goes on. So it's just a good idea to check before you actually hit the roads.
Yes, and so we actually, looking at the radar on the right side, it looks like it's that line, that storm system is moving out of the way. So we'll check in with our meteorologist pretty soon. But I believe we have some video now that's coming in of all the flooding, and just, I guess, what was like just a few hours ago in the Stafford area. Take a look at that. Again, not happening right now. This was a few hours ago. Just so scary. Let me tell you, on a positive note, this is like a noisemaker, like for, ambient noise for a lot of people. So that's what it sounded like. So I kind of wasn't as scared, but I know it can be a pretty scary situation for a lot of people, especially if you are having to drive. And if your kids are out, because in the morning it was just fine, and then it got progressively worse. So we are now going to check in with our meteorologist, John Dawson, who's been tracking the source system from the beginning. JD?
I would just sort of wanted to jump in and just sort of give you that bigger picture, because we're not giving the all clear yet, but we're certainly seeing a major improvement for the majority of the folks that are in the Fox 26 viewing area. So taking a look again right now, what we're looking at as far as the bigger picture is concerned, this upper level system moving across North Texas, it's churning and pulling in all of that moisture, kind of destabilizing everything, and then it pulls in that front behind it. And once this front really gets all the way through the Houston area, that's when we're going to see a definite clearing of the skies, even more than we're beginning to see some of that clearing right now. So zooming in, getting a tight picture on our biggest concerns at the moment, we do have some tornado warnings that are just outside of the Fox 26 viewing area. So this is technically more towards Beaumont, and we definitely have some tornado warnings for Beaumont and then back to the southwest a little bit. Again, this is outside of the Fox 26 viewing area where we have those tornado warnings, and we're going to continue to kind of keep an eye on those. I've got a warning, an update that just came in. I'm going to pause here and take a look and see and make sure I haven't left anything out of importance on that. Looks like we're okay on that one. So we'll just kind of keep heading. And what we're talking about now, though, is you see these orange shadings. So the red boxes here, those are those tornado warnings. And my graphic is what is pointing to that. And then we get a little bit closer in here to the Houston area, and we're dealing with the severe thunderstorm warning. So let me continue to adjust here. So the severe thunderstorm warning for Brazoria, Chamber, and Galveston counties, that's going to be until 4 o'clock. So not a lot of time left on that one, but still some stronger storms. And the main reason that we're going to be seeing that is because they're moved off of the island. They're moved off the Bolivar Peninsula and moved off of Galveston Island. And the strongest of what we're seeing right now is actually out over the water. We don't normally get as concerned about that. There's so many fewer people out there, but if you happen to be out there on a boat, then yeah, that's definitely going to be a concern. But the majority of us are going to be okay with that. And the land masses, the Bolivar Peninsula, Galveston Island, we're seeing those storms continue to move off. Over in Chambers County, another severe thunderstorm warning that's also on the edge of that warned area. So we'll continue to see that be less of a threat, less of a concern as well as we move that system on through. Backing up a little bit, just to remind you that there is quite a bit of water still on the ground, some of our roadways, and that's going to probably cause a few problems if you're trying to move around a little bit. So this is why we still have flood advisories that are out there. These are a little longer in length. These run until 6 o'clock tonight. And again, that's not because of more rain that's expected. It's from the rain that's already fallen. Some of this will be because of some water that's collected in those low-lying areas like the roadways. Some of this will be because some of those drainages, that whether that be a bayou or a bigger body of water or just sort of one of those ditches that kind of helps move water into the bayous and the rivers, are overwhelmed. Too much water fell, too short of amount of time. And that's why we might see a flood advisory for some of these areas as well. But these again are focused on where we've already seen rain falling, not where we're expecting more rain to fall. So we'll look at the lightning here that's associated with these storms. And as we've talked about, these are the warned storms. Chambers County almost even hardly can see parts of Bolivar Peninsula right now with all of the lightning that's there. The majority of the lightning is out over the waters of Galveston, so not happening. And then there's still some lighter rain. I was checking in the conditions at Intercontinental Airport a few minutes ago, and while it's not nearly as stormy as what we have seen, there is light rain that's still happening up at the big airport at the moment. So that's going to continue, again, to see these areas that do have some light rain. Let's talk about some rainfall totals for just a moment, because this is something that we're able to kind of track and see with our radar as well. We're seeing those in certain areas where we're going to see the higher amounts. So the tornadic activity that we saw today was actually across northern Brazoria County, northern Galveston County, and then over into portions of Harris County. So basically, we're basically going to make this very generic and say the tornadic activity we saw today was south of Interstate 10, south of downtown Houston. That's where we saw that tornadic track take place, basically over in the Sugar Land area, moving over towards Pearland, eventually getting around Ellington Field, Deer Park, Pasadena, Baytown, Channelview, kind of moving that direction is where we saw that tornado and its track go. But The majority of the rain that fell was in the northern portions of Harris County, or north of Interstate 10 at least. We'll put it that way. Look at some of these estimates. In the last 24 hours, 6 inches of rain out towards Sealy, maybe as much as 7 inches between Sealy and Katy, and then we move up towards Cypress and up to 90, close to 7 inches. Even over when we get into the Woodlands, possibly as much as 6 inches of rain that fell in the Woodlands area. And then moving into the northwestern portions of Liberty County, there's some more rain, those higher amounts falling there as well. So again, lots of rain fell. Those are the areas that were dealing with some flooding. And then we had the other spots to the south that was dealing with the tornadic activity. So I want to back up and just show us that bigger picture once again, because what's going to happen now is this storm system is going to continue to track, and it's going to continue to cause problems, but not for us here in the Houston area. The severe weather outlook, we're past this point for Houston. But look at all of the area that still potentially could see more severe storms as we move through the evening hours, hugging that Gulf Coast. So this storm system is not done completely, but it's done for the most part with what's happening in the Houston area. We'll still continue to keep an eye on things and see how that tracks on through. I want to show the future cast just to sort of affirm how this is all going to clear out. We're still going to look at some breezy conditions, and that drier air is really going to fill in behind. We talked about that front that's going to take place, and this is going to move on through, clear things out within the next hour or so. And then tonight will be breezy. It will be a bit cool, about 40 degrees for that overnight low. And then we get into tomorrow afternoon, really begins a pleasant stretch of weather where we'll have some sunny skies, and it'll keep things, again, sort of cool and dry. I did want to show one other thing before I pass back to the anchor desk, but when we take a look at the reported, storm reports that we've seen across the area, and I think I'll just punch up, let me just sort of set this up here for us for what I wanted to show you on some of these storm reports. We're focused. This is, again, it shows the current conditions with the front that's on there, and I'm going to clear that off. But what I wanted to show were these storm reports that have come in, and you're going to be able to see that lightning or that indication of where the tornado was. So much further out south of Columbus, we had a tornado that was reported earlier in the day, and then this one is the one that was in the Pearland area that was confirmed. Now, we know that this tornado was around more than just where we have it spotted here in the Pearland area, but we have an official report where an emergency manager had a visual on the tornado. And so as of right now, that's our official report. We'll continue to see a lot of damage that confirms that tornado, again, ripped across to the east through Pasadena, through Pearland, then Pasadena, and then even further. We're going to have lots of visual evidence of that. But that official report that's come in so far shows that that was where that took place in the Pearland area, and then it eventually moved into Deer Park as well. So I just kind of wanted to sort of lay that out, show that tornadic activity that we've seen. And the one other thing that I wanted to mention about this tornado that we saw today is you're aware of the different situations that we have concerning tornadoes, where we have a tornado watch and then a tornado warning, and then we can upgrade that even more to a tornado emergency. Our National Weather Service office has never issued a tornado emergency until today. Today was the first day that they ever issued that. Now, that's a relatively new product. It's only really been available since, I think, 2016. But it is something, again, that we're continuing to kind of mark down as something that happened today. That's what we've got for right now from the Weather Department. Let's go ahead and get back to Rashi and Caroline.
Area. I don't know if my mic was on, but we do have a lot of power outages and a lot going on still. Rashi Bat's here at the desk with me. Did we say Natalie He is out live?
Yes, I believe she is
in
out
Deer
live.
Park.
Natalie, what can you tell us?
Hey, Rashi and Caroline, we just got here to Deer Park a few moments ago, and I can tell you the second we stepped into the Deer Park area, we noticed immediately that power was out almost everywhere. You look around all the businesses, there is no power at all. Business owners, people in their neighborhoods just kind of sitting there wondering what to do at this point. And if I step out of the shot real quick, you can look at the vast damage behind me here. This is the intersection of Center Street and San Augustine, and you can see some of the debris that's been kind of blown around over here. The roof blown off some of these buildings over here. There's a couple of strip malls here. It looks like there were previously pizza places like a Little Caesars, a UPS store, people's cars kind of left stranded, power lines down all over the place. And like I said, just debris all over the ground over here. And right now we're actually in the parking lot of a daycare. It's called Cream of the Crop Learning Center. We've seen parents kind of come by to pick up their kids here. And joining me now are actually 3 employees who work in the daycare. They were inside at the time when all of the mess started happening. So why don't we start with, first and foremost, is everyone okay?
Yes,
okay.
They are good. We brought them we have a kitchen. We just put them all in there. We were playing Coco Melon for the kids, and we were just sitting there with them with flashlights.
Staying calm, keep them calm.
Yes.
Try not to freak out.
We're just trying our best.
We actually prepare for this moment whenever a tornado comes or like just a fire thing just comes. We just practice all the time, every month. So all the kids were safe.
And I can imagine how scary it is, especially to have such young ones like this one here that are inside that aren't really sure what's going on. So is that something that you guys try to do, is keep everyone calm and collected?
Yes, I was changing diapers when this happened, and our boss came in. They were like, we gotta go, so I just went. But thankfully, like, I'm an infant classroom teacher, and we didn't have any of like the new, like 2 young ones in there, so that was good.
Okay. And about what time did, stuff started happening that you started gearing up for the preparations that you've had to kind of hunker down and keep the kids safe?
Probably like right at 2:45, 2:30-ish is when all of our phones started going off saying tornado warning. And so our boss, Miss Carrie, was like, get the kids, let's go. We need to get them all in here now. Mm-hmm. So we went and started getting kids and putting them in there super fast.
So you guys almost went into like emergency mode instantly.
Yes. We just gathered. My coworker, Siani, she had 2 kids in her hands, and I was like, we got to go.
Yeah. And did you start contacting parents? Like, what happened after that?
We tried. Our landline's down, so service is kind of spotty, but we tried.
So we're just waiting for parents right now, getting the kids in and out.
And some of you were actually inside. One of you said that you might have seen, or one of your coworkers might have seen some of the action going on outside. Can you explain to me what happened or what they saw?
They saw it was like a white thing going around, and a swirl going around, and the doors, we have 2 back doors, they were opening. So gladly we didn't have the kids back there because there is glass back there.
Any damage to the inside of the daycare at all?
Not so far that we've seen. I think she mentioned the playground. We have a playground. It's kind of flipped over.
It's a little play set that's flipped over, but that's pretty much
Nothing
all.
serious. Thank gosh.
And how did the kids handle all of this when they started hearing the noise and all that?
They were scared. Everybody was kind of into a panic because we went fast and tried to get everybody in fast. And so they were a little scared, but we talked to them. We put on Coco Melon, calmed them down. And after that, everybody was pretty much okay for the time being.
And for the 3 of you, I mean, I imagine you've worked here for a bit. Have you ever experienced or seen anything like the damage here behind you?
I have not. I did not know she came in here. She showed me a picture off her phone, and I was like,
because they were all in there, and I was up here. So I took pictures, and I went back there and showed them to let them know what was going on out here.
I didn't know it was going to be that bad out all.
What went through your mind when you stepped outside and you saw all of this debris out here? I mean, this is just barely a block away from the daycare where you guys work every single day.
I just thank God it went around us and nothing happened to us and we were all okay.
And for you, I mean, have you guys been able to get in contact with your loved ones, your friends and family? Is everyone okay?
Thankfully, the boss lets us, after we get everyone calmed down, we call our loved ones, everyone was sheltered in place. They actually live around here and they go to school around here. The Deer Park schools were sheltered in place also. So thank God for the teachers at Deer Park.
And now looking around here, I mean, this is almost like unnerving to see, right? To see all this damage. I mean, have they said anything about what the cleanup's going to look like or what's going to happen tomorrow with the kids and the parents?
We have parents asking, what's the situation? And I'm like, I don't think we're going to be open.
Yeah. Power's out, AC's not working, so that's what it looks like right now.
Okay. So right now you're just kind of waiting to hear what's going to happen?
Yeah. Just a waiting game so far, but I think our boss will send out an email later telling us what's going on.
Okay. And right now, how many parents are you guys still waiting for to come and pick up their kids?
They're coming quickly, actually. We've had a lot leave.
Usually
parents
at
coming
6:30, but they're coming as fast as they can right now. So.
Okay. And you guys have a lot of people still. I mean, how many kids do you usually have in here?
Ooh, a good amount, over 100, usually. They're slowly, our after schoolers don't get here until after 2, so of course they got caught up in it.
And
they're barely coming in. And
our owner's husband, he went to go get, I believe it's the junior highs, and then our other van runner went to go get carpenters, so we're just waiting for that right now.
Okay. All right, well, thanks you guys so much for speaking with me. We have Lily, Monica, and Lydia. Yes, got all their names right. Thank you guys so much. We are so glad that you're safe and the kids are safe and that you're doing everything to keep these parents feel comfortable as well. So thank you guys so much. And once again, we're out here in Deer Park. This is Center Street and San Augustine. The damage behind me is just unbelievable. So we're going to be catching up more with officials, seeing what sort of assessment we have here, and we'll circle back to you guys. For now, I'm Natalie He, Fox 26 News. Back to you.
All right, Natalie, in Deer Park, please stay careful out there, and we'll get a closer look at some of that damage behind her as we turn into our broadcast later in the evening.
That's right. So let's turn to Gabby Hart now. She's live at the Pasadena Animal Shelter, where we know that she's been talking about what has been going on there. I know that there's a lot of flooding, at least ponding on the roadways, and we'll be talking with her in just a few moments. So we do have crews that are scattered across the area that has been affected. Now, there's been a lot of businesses that have been hit because of all the damage which has been caused in the Pasadena area. I know also in the Baytown area. And we know, as far as the electricity is concerned, there's still about 100,000 customers with CenterPoint Energy without power right now. So we're talking specifically in Pasadena, Fort Bend County, Bel Air, West University, South Houston, and East Harris County. Now, where Natalie He was right now, she was showing us how the area over there still doesn't have any power. So you really just have people waiting outside, waiting to get power so they can start the cleanup process there. But that's really what they're doing, is assessing damage.
Yeah, it looks like in Pasadena alone, 68,000 people without power in that area, which is just a huge number. That really looks like the biggest number of concentrated power outages when you look at the map. But again, we're still close to 100,000 people without power, according to CenterPoint Energy.
Yes, and one of the things that really slows things down is the fact that there's all these downed trees. So actually safely getting them out of the way, and also the down power lines, just because of the high wind gusts that we were experiencing in parts of the area, that really causes the crews to have to take a little bit longer because of their own safety, and removing those huge trees that we were hearing just uprooted, that have been there for so long, have really caused some damage, and also delaying the process of getting the electricity back up. So now we have Gabby Hart, who is outside the Pasadena Animal Shelter. So Gabby, tell us what you're seeing out there.
Can you say and spell your first and last name?
Yes, Jeff Wagner, W-A-G-N-E-R, Mayor of Pasadena.
Tell us what's happening right now at the animal shelter here.
Here at the animal shelter, as you can see, a tornado did hit our animal shelter. We only had a couple of dogs injured, no deaths. But the most important thing is all employees are okay. And as you can see across the street, that neighborhood was hit pretty hard. So we have all hands on deck right now, all our neighborhoods, just not this neighborhood, all throughout Pasadena. Tornadoes touched here, touched there, and we're doing everything we can to make sure all our citizens are safe. And with that, we got to remember all our first responders are out doing the same thing, and we want them to be safe too. So our response time is very quick here in Pasadena. Even during emergency situations like this, our first responders are out doing a marvelous job. And the beauty behind it here in Pasadena, our volunteer fire department, they're out in full force along with our police department. So we're doing everything we can to make sure all our citizens are safe. And again, as far as the animals go, a couple dogs were injured, but we're going to be able to transport them to a different location and get them shelter as soon as possible. We're working on it as we're talking.
Any idea how many animals, and will they all have to be moved out of this facility? If so, where are they going?
70. Matter of fact, our adoption center next door, we have room. We're going to get crates and stuff, and we're going to put them there. Hopefully, we got other agencies helping us get our dogs out, or not just dogs, animals, but we'll make sure that they're safe and they're well taken care of. That's our first priority here at our shelter.
Are there any other injuries reported outside of the animal shelter as far as people, anyone else injured?
Right now we have one injury, and actually it's a neighborhood right across from here. An ambulance came and took somebody to the hospital. It's not life-threatening, but again, any injury is serious.
Other than the animal shelter, what other kind of damage are you seeing in Pasadena, sir?
We drove through the town before we got here, and the chief, both chiefs, the fire chief and police chief, will be able to be a little more specific on that. We drove from our city hall to here, and we've seen plenty of damage. We've seen buildings that collapsed. We've seen a 18-wheeler on the Beltway completely tumped over. So there's lots of damage here in Pasadena.
Mayor, what have you heard about the schools?
We called the school district. Luckily, at this point, no school was hit. There's no injuries or any damage at any school that we know of. So that's a great thing. But still, though, we're still keeping our ears open and anything we can for the school district, we're here for them.
What's your message to the community right now, people in Pasadena who might be watching this?
Stay home, let us do our job, and we'll get the information out to you as soon as possible when it's safe to get out. We're out, all hands are on deck. We've got all the police department, all the fire department, all our public works. We're out doing everything we can. I've been on the phone with CenterPoint. CenterPoint's fixing to do a big substation here in Pasadena to help get the electricity back on, but get some electricity off where it's needed, where there's lines down. So believe me, all hands are on deck. We're doing everything we can for our citizens.
Would either the police or fire chief like to add anything?
I was going to say the biggest thing is...
can you go ahead and give your full name and title?
Yep, Josh Berger, Brugger, the police chief here in Pasadena. I would say the biggest thing right now is, we're still here to respond, but be judicious in your calls because we're inundated in the dispatch center right now. And the biggest thing is, we get calls, can I go this way, can I go that way? Tune into our social media, we're trying to update it. When I left to come out here, we actually had all of our calls caught up. It's misleading, though, because a lot of our resources are tied up on intersections. We have gas leaks, buildings, power lines, all of those things. And so, I'm really proud of all the first responders. But I'm going to tell you, my 25 years here, this is probably the worst damage that I've seen, just catastrophic. And we've reached out to the Red Cross, and so that's one of the things to try to get some resources to some folks that their houses have collapsed. And I think it's probably a blessing that happened when it did, just because people were at work and weren't at home. Otherwise, I think it'd be a completely different story out here as far as injuries and possibly deaths. So
you guys are going to have your hands full, though, into the night.
100%, yes. The coming days, we're going to have our hands full. And so we're still here to respond, but again, be judicious when you call. That's all I ask.
Fire chief?
Lanny Armstrong,
yep.
LANNY. We're currently busy. We've run approximately 60 calls since 2 o'clock. Most of them related to power lines and building collapses. Well, we've triaged several neighborhoods due to structural collapses. Unbelievably, there hasn't been but one injury that we're aware of, which is absolutely unbelievable considering the amount of damage. It looked like the tornado didn't run a swath. It came up and touched down in several locations because the neighborhoods are kind of spread out where the damage is, but there's a considerable amount of debris. As Chief Brugger was saying, it's really try to be judicious in your calls. We're running power lines down. People are still calling about power lines, and it's pretty obvious they're down everywhere. Gas leaks, those are immediately dangerous, so we want to respond to those as quickly as we can, especially with buildings that have been compromised. The structural collapses, it's just really difficult to get there and triage those buildings and make sure everybody's out, especially if the neighbors don't know if anybody's home. But we're doing our best, to try to get those and eliminate the possibility of having somebody trapped.
Do you have a rough idea about the number of calls you've gotten today?
Yeah, we run about 60 since 2 o'clock.
And is there one or two neighborhoods maybe more hard hit than others?
Yeah, this one across the street suffered some pretty significant damage. There's another neighborhood off Spencer Highway, Bliss Meadows, that's had several houses that have been, taken off the slab. I mean, literally. We've been very, very fortunate that no injuries so far.
And where is that 18-wheeler the mayor was mentioning?
It was on the Beltway.
And
overpass.
Sorry, at the cross street, roughly?
Vista.
Okay. Is it still there, or is it
No. They picked it up, thankfully. And pretty sure it was wind driven. I mean, it was picked up and turned over.
Wow.
The driver came in as trapped, but thankfully before we got there, he got out.
Were there any problems with high water?
We did have some problems back in this neighborhood, but by and large, the problem really wasn't flooding. It was, wind. I mean, it was damage. We had a little bit of flooding here on Burke. One of the big concerns we had is the power lines are all laid over. There was power lines in the opposing traffic, and people were driving over them. That's not a good idea because you don't know they're not de-energized. So we really want to caution people about power lines being in water, unseen, especially with debris everywhere. So just be very, very cautious around the power lines. Gas leaks are another issue. We're seeing a lot of gas leaks. CenterPoint's been really good about responding to these things pretty quickly. So we had a major gas leak here when we responded to this location. We had a 2-inch line that was blowing.
Oh.
Yeah, so they got here pretty quick. The firefighters isolated the gas, and then CenterPoint was here within 15 minutes.
We'll turn it on.
Yeah, they pulled the meter, actually. It was right there.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So they did an outstanding job getting here as quick as they did. So.
Thank you. Anything else?
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. All right, Pasadena.
Hey, are you guys still on us? Okay, wanted to make sure that you guys were still on it. There's really no reception out here. I'm guessing that has something to do with just everything going on, but I do want to give you guys a better look at this animal shelter. Doug, if you can walk with me. This right here is the front of this animal shelter. You can see it completely torn off. I mean, looks catastrophic, but miraculously, only a few pets were injured, and none of them, as of right now, seriously. We did see members of law enforcement and the animal shelter, the fire department, all working together to bring these animals out. There's still some inside that they are trying to get to, but it's really heartbreaking, especially if you're an animal lover, because you can hear the pets in there barking. I'm sure this startled them, so much, on top of already being in this shelter. So they are moving them into that pet adoption center right there. You see a woman walking with the dog now. Really, this building, we're not sure. We're going to ask them, but looking like it's going to be a complete loss. And this is just one area in Pasadena. You heard the authorities talking there. Just one area that was impacted. They said we've seen homes ripped off of slabs. Tornadoes touched down in multiple spots throughout this city. And I can tell you, a pretty scary situation, but one person injured, a few animals. This could have been much worse for these crews out here today. Now, we're just getting here. We're going to go and really check on the animals, kind of get some more information, some insight, also go to some of the neighborhoods out here. We will have team coverage throughout the 7 o'clock hour. Of course, tonight at 9, 10 o'clock, we are your weather authority, so our crews will be out in full force, making sure you have the information that you need to know. For now, we're going to toss it back to you guys in the studio, but I'm reporting live in Pasadena. Gabby Hart, Fox 26 News.
All right, Gabby, great information there in the press conference. We learned to check the Pasadena Police Department's Twitter. I have checked it. They're saying that the Red Cross is available to assist citizens at Burke Road and Yellowstone Drive. That is where that animal shelter is located, on Burke Road. That's near Burke Crenshaw Park. So if you're a resident in that area, you can reach out to the Red Cross for help. As we saw in Gabby's live shot, it looks like that area was hit really, really bad. It's miraculous that nobody was more hurt in that animal shelter than what we're hearing. Now, some dogs, they said, were injured. They do have to be transported. Gabby's going to work on this story and have an update for us as the night goes on.
But what a scary situation. I mean, I know we think about us as well, but also those animals that are over there and what's going on with them. Yes, can't even imagine. Well, we have our Tom Ziska, who is live for us in West Houston. We know that that area was slammed. What's it like there now, Tom?
Rashi, Caroline, good evening to you. This is Beach Nut. We're about a block away from the West Loop, just beyond the camera here. But this is a typical scene here when you get heavy rain as fast as it fell here. If you've lived in Houston for any appreciable amount of time, the spots that collect water have collected water, and this is one of them. We've been here just shy of an hour, and the level of this stretch of Beach Nut is going down a little bit, but people are still kind of plowing through. We've seen a couple of vehicles that did not make it. We've seen that before. They've been towed away. Matt, if you swing around to the far end here, that's where the edge of the water is. You see a couple of Metro buses. Those drivers have been around long enough, and they say, nope, not driving through. So they stopped right at the water's edge. There had been a couple people walk by who said, I was on the bus. The bus isn't going anywhere else, so I'm going to walk to where I got to go. One woman just passed by a few minutes ago, and she said, I'm going to go as far toward Hillcroft as I think I can get. And that's a long walk from here, but she's going to give it a go. Meantime, there are some people who are following the directions, the don't drown, turn around, and then other people who are going to plow through the water, as always happens. The rain was tremendous, as we see one of those Metro buses making its way through here. I believe they may have picked up some passengers and said we'll go the long way around. That line of storms, when it came through, 3 to 6 inches is what the meteorology department is saying, and it's a lot of rain all in a short period of time, and there's just no way for it to drain quickly. So we haven't really seen, other than the tornado damage that we've seen on the east side, as the sun pops out here, no significant flooding damage. The rain that came down was handled fairly efficiently. Not a lot of people out on the roads, which was good. But not a lot of damage do we see. There was some hail, some wind, some rain, some lightning, but other than the tornado that we see on the east side, most people have seen heavy rain, and they're going to be okay. I'm told that I wasn't sure we had this soundbite, but apparently we do. That's great. So I met this one woman. She's been here in Houston a day from California, and she was a little shocked by what she saw. This is Allie Daniels. Take a listen. Did you know there was rain coming?
Yeah, but not like this.
You just
Is this normal?
This is not normal.
Okay.
So
I don't even know if this is normal or not. Like, this could be a Tuesday for you guys.
well, it is Tuesday, but it's not a normal Tuesday.
Okay.
Yeah. So I also asked Allie, how does our heavy rain compare to Southern California heavy rain? She said there is no comparison. I tried to tell her that this water is going to recede fairly quickly. She was not entirely convinced, but we caught her taking some pictures so that she could send back to the folks back home in California that, hey, I'm in Texas and look what I found. So Houston's going to be okay. It's one of those storms. It's windy, it's cold, it's wet, and it's going to dry sometime soon. Just not right now. Live from the west side. Oh, there's a guy. He's going to plow through. He's got a Jeep. Look at that. Jeep's designed to go through water, so gosh golly, he's going to do it. All right. That's the scene from over here on the west side. We'll keep watching the people who think they can get through the high water, you guys.
My goodness, Tom, you be careful. You'll have to drive away from that area at some point, so please be careful.
All right. Well, it really is just a gamble when you do that. You drive through the high water. I have to tell you, I was trying to do that myself. I have an SUV, so it seemed like I could go through the water, but there were a lot of low-lying cars, that weren't able to do that. You just want to hurry and get to where you want to go, but it really is not a good idea. There's so many stranded vehicles out there, so that can really cause a mess for you. And like Tom was saying, it's something that we've dealt with before, these type of storms, and things are going to get a lot better. And we are going to be talking live with the VP of Safety and Technical Training with CenterPoint Energy, because one of the big issues we're dealing with right now is the lack of electricity for a lot of these homes that have been affected, and also these businesses. So whenever we have him on the phone.
Yeah, it looks like they're still reporting over 89,000 customers without power.
But just in the last hour, that's gone down thousands significantly. So, that means that they are progressing, which is really good news there for those of you who are joining in just now. Thank you for joining us here on Fox 26. We have been reporting on all of the weather damage that has been caused by this storm system. And if you're taking a look at the left side of your screen there, you can see the system has moved away. So we are on the end, tapering off here, and now surveying the damage, which to a lot of us, it was surprising just how much damage this storm system caused because of the tornadoes. And we have crews across the area that are going to be bringing us live updates throughout the hour, throughout the evening. And we also have been talking about the power outages because that's been such a huge issue, specifically for the Pasadena area. And you were, Caroline, tracking that as well.
Yeah, the Pasadena animal shelter was hit really hard. We just had Gabby out there. Some animals were actually injured. She gave us a look at the building. Pretty bad, a lot of damage. Crazy that no humans were injured in that building. But the Pasadena Police Department did say that the Red Cross is available to help you in that area. That's how bad things got in that area. We were live in Deer Park. Deer Park got hit pretty bad too. There was a lot of damage where Natalie He was. This is all stuff that you're going to see as we continue our coverage here on Fox 26 News. We have the news at 5 and 6, and then our later shows, of course, online. Please, this is a good time to download our news app. Follow all of our meteorologists. They've been nonstop tracking this system all day. It does give me some relief, though, to see that system moving off because that was right over us for quite some time today. Tornado touching down in many parts of our viewing area, causing a whole lot of damage and dangerous situations for many.
And this is just such a great time to download not just the news app like you were saying, but also the weather app because you can really zone in to your neighborhood and see what's going on there, which is something that is so helpful, especially for so many parents out there that have been worried about their kids since many school districts had shelter in place because they were affected by this storm and because there was late dismissal. Also, after school activities have been canceled. Now we're really in the recovery mode of all of this and really hoping that things start wrapping up before the sun goes down pretty quickly, actually. So extensive damage that we are seeing because of these tornadoes. I mean, both of us are surprised. I know there are people in the newsroom that were surprised just how much, even meteorologists.
And it really, in a situation like this, it depends on what area you're in when a tornado goes through because it's very specific areas. Baytown got hit really hard. I mean, so the people there are dealing with a different situation than in other parts of our viewing area. So it's scary. It depends what area you're in. Be careful if you're on the roads, though. We've been showing you all afternoon the flooding that's been happening all throughout the greater Houston area, really. But it's sporadic. It's different. A road might be flooded, but then it might be okay over here. So just be careful if you're out driving. Now I think we're going to toss it back over to meteorologist Ramisha Shade, who has been nonstop tracking this for the last couple of hours. Ramisha, what's the latest update?
Well, the good news is that the severe weather threat has shifted off to our east, but of course we've had reports from the Deer Park area, the Pasadena area, so I just wanted to take you back to around 2:30 p.m. We are looking at our radar in velocity mode, so basically this shows you the wind and the potential for the twisting of the wind within this cell that we had produce multiple tornadoes. So right around 2:30 p.m. you could see right around the Deer Park area, Independence Parkway, you could see that red right next to the green. That is what we call strong rotation. When you see that wind flowing towards and away from the radar, indicated by that red and green, and that notch tightly wrapping around, that indicates that we have a high threat for a tornado, and that is what we were seeing at 2:30. That's when we were getting confirmations of tornadoes touching down, and we've seen some of that damage. The good news at this point, though, the threat for severe weather winding down for us because this powerful, potent system finally starting to push off to the east, and the severe threat, the flooding threat, at least from rain currently falling, starting to go down. But we have to deal with the flooding and the aftermath from all of the rain that has fallen over the last several hours. But At least we have gotten rid of that very heavy rainfall. We've gotten rid of the tornado threat. It has shifted off to the east. Now, I do want to point out that we do still have some flood advisories. This includes the city of Baytown, also up towards LaPorte, League City, Texas City. This flood advisory still in place through 6 p.m. So that means there's going to be that higher threat in these locations for that street flooding, that ponding of water on some of those roads. So if you don't have to be out there, you may want to give it another hour or two for some of that flooding to subside. But for now, still dealing with a pretty high threat for flooding here. I also want to point out that we're starting to get some of these confirmed tornadoes popping up on our map with our storm reports. You can see as the radar goes into motion, we do have those tornado reports popping up in southern portions of Harris County. Of course, we did have reports of multiple tornadoes touching down right around the Pasadena area, Deer Park, Pearland. We had a tornado report there as well, and then even over into the Baytown area, reports of a tornado touching it down. Of course, the National Weather Service will be sending out crews likely tomorrow morning to survey those areas that were damaged the most to try to determine how strong the tornado was, how long was it on the ground, what type of damage did it do. So we'll have more information coming to you over the next couple of hours and definitely over the next 24 hours. But for now, the best news I can give you is that the heavy rain, the threat for severe storms that could produce tornadoes has pushed off to the east. We even had Beaumont under a tornado warning, but fortunately that has come to an end. But for Houston, Katy, the Woodlands, Conroe, things are looking much better. So that is certainly some good news. We do still have tornado warnings out there, but they are now east of our viewing area. In fact, just to the east of the majority of the Beaumont area. It looks like there may be a little slither of Beaumont still in that right along Interstate 10, but this system is quickly moving. It is rocking. It's pushing off to the east around 45 to 50 miles per hour. So it's going to be out of even the Beaumont area pretty soon where those tornado warnings currently are. Of course, we did have a severe thunderstorm warning for Galveston, but those cells have now pushed offshore, so things are certainly calming down, but there's still that threat for the flooding, as I mentioned. Also, I do want to point out that we have had a ton of rain, especially areas just to the north of Houston and northwest of Houston. This swath here indicates where the radar is estimating, get this, 3 to up to 6 inches of rainfall. So you're wondering, why do we have so much flooding out there? When you have that much rain fall in a short period of time, it's going to amount to potentially some dangerous flooding. So that is exactly what we've had. Closer to the Houston area, points south, rain totals have been closer to the 1, 2, close to 3 inch range, but that 3 to 6 inch swath of rainfall just to the north of Houston. So it has been a really rowdy, dangerous weather day with multiple tornadoes reported, a lot of heavy rain, several inches of rain inundated the area and produced that widespread flooding. Not only that, it has been super windy out there, even outside of any of the severe thunderstorms. We've had wind gusts near and over 50 miles per hour at times. So we do still have a wind advisory down around Katy, Sugar Land, includes all of Houston. This continues through 6 p.m. Wind gusts could still be anywhere from 40, 45, close to 50 miles per hour. Right now, still getting wind gusts close to 40 miles per hour out at Houston Hobby Airport and also over towards the city of Galveston. So I believe the wind and the flood threat will be our 2 main threats as we go through the early evening, but overall things are definitely starting to calm down. A wider view shows you this monster of a system on the colder side producing a lot of snow across the Texas Panhandle. Chilly rain for Dallas. Of course, we got the severe storm portion of it and the tornadoes and the flooding, but it is pushing off to the east. We're not going to get any snow, but it will get cooler. It's going to stay windy for this evening, but at least the threat for severe weather certainly starting to go down. So that is the good news. That is the latest from the weather department. Severe threat has come to an end as far as the tornado threat, but we do still have a lot of street flooding going on out there. We do still have windy conditions that could lead to additional spotty power outages. So keep that in mind and just be thankful that it wasn't any worse, but we of course have to continue to monitor all of that damage coming in from those tornadoes that were confirmed. We'll have much more as we go through the afternoon and evening, but for now I'm going to take it back over to the news desk with Caroline and Rashi.
All right, thank you for that. So the good news there is that at least things are looking a lot better, and it seems like we are in the recovery mode. Like we were saying, there's so much destruction out there. We usually don't use that word destruction. I mean, usually there's debris here and there, but there really is destruction. We're talking businesses and homes as well. So we've also been reporting on CenterPoint Energy and the electricity that is being restored at this moment. So it looks like people are getting their power back on, which is good news. We're at 89,961. So we were at 100,000 at the top of the hour. So we're looking at a good progress report right there. Now, we were also talking about the
animal shelter in Pasadena.
Yes.
I'm told that we do have some live pictures right now. That animal shelter located at 5150 Bjork Road. This is near Bjork Crenshaw Park, if you're familiar with that area. Do we have any images at this point that we can show of that? The destruction was bad at that point. I think that we lost the live shot, but we have Gabby Hart. She's out there. There was a press conference held. We heard from the animal shelter and the police department. There were some dogs that were injured in this animal shelter in Pasadena. Those dogs are being transported to another location. The building, half of it looks like it's destroyed. I have no other way to describe it. Half the building was in shambles, really.
And we were, sorry, go ahead.
No, and I was just going to say the police department, there's some damage right there.
Yeah.
Is this from the animal shelter? Yes. Okay. This is from that animal shelter, the Pasadena Animal Shelter. It's called on Bjork Road, and that looks like a car, and that looks like a piece of debris on that car. The police department in Pasadena, the chief was speaking. He said the Red Cross is available to help people in this area. So please, if your home was damaged, if you don't have a place to go now, we know power is out in this area. You can contact the Red Cross. They are available to help. Okay, here's the animal shelter right now.
And that was some of the damage that we were seeing there.
Yeah.
And also with the Red Cross, all of that information is also on our website. So you can go there. You can download our news app. It's free to download, and it just has a wealth of information. Also, if you want to go ahead and also download our weather app at the same time, I mean, you're already at the App Store, might as well do it, and you'll be able to pinpoint exactly where the weather is, what it's like in your neighborhood. Now, one of the things we haven't talked about in quite some time is about Bush Intercontinental Airport and how there was a ground stop there. So because of that, there are significant delays for other flights there. So it is very crowded at the airport right now. A lot of confusion as well because all of these delayed flights are right now there, and people are missing their flights as well. So there's a lot of kind of chaos going on at Bush Intercontinental Airport. So if you are headed out tonight, you would want to check with your airline ahead of time. That's coming from IAH as a, just some advice for those travelers out there.
I know we do have some B-roll that we do want to get to from Pasadena. If we have that, is this Pasadena that we're looking at?
Yes, all of the destruction.
Southeast Harris County here. This was video. We showed this a bit earlier as well, but if you're just joining us, this just puts into perspective how this tornado just really ripped through parts of our viewing area, causing extensive damage. Like you can see here, all the debris. This looks like an apartment complex, maybe.
Yes.
All the debris on the ground. That looks like a garbage can. It's crazy.
Yes, and vehicles that are damaged as well, so people can't go anywhere. They probably can't drive. Now, this is something that's going to take a long time to clean up. You see down trees as well, which is probably why it's going to take some time for crews to get out there. And I know that we've been on standby. We are going to be speaking with the VP of Safety and Technical Training with CenterPoint Energy to get an update on what they are doing. We know that they are restoring power. It's just these places that have been heavily damaged really need it at this time, obviously. So taking a look at Pasadena specifically, when we were talking, we heard from the mayor of Pasadena. He was saying, the shelter has been hit, but it's not even as bad as it was around us here. So.
Well, and that's what they were saying. The neighborhoods in that area were hit pretty bad. Gabby Hart is out there, and she's going to check out some of those surrounding neighborhoods, but I'm nervous to see what that looks like because from what it sounds like, pretty bad.
Yes, and Natalie, he was also live for us, and she was near a daycare, and so they were just all thankful that everyone is okay, especially those little kiddos.
Oh my, how scary.
Yes, but right behind her, you could just see destruction. I mean, literally
the power lines down. That's going to take a while to fix. And to your point about the Bush Airport, Hobby Airport put out on their Twitter that obviously they're experiencing a lot of delays as well. So if you're flying out of Hobby, you also want to check your flight status because because flights were grounded for some time today.
Yes, and you look at what tomorrow's forecast is, and there's like no chance of rain. So we're going on the up and up, which is great.
Hopefully that helps with some of these cleanup efforts, because you can just see from this video, they're going to need a lot of help, and a lot of effort is going to go into this cleanup and recovery process.
Yes.
And we don't even know the full scale of damage yet in these parts that were hit hard. I mean, that's still coming in. It's still early. So luckily that storm, though, has moved out of the area. It looks like, from what we can see, CenterPoint Energy is trying to restore power, because at one point it was over 100,000 customers who were without power. So that is getting a little bit better as we continue to track the amount of people without power in our area. It's still upwards of 82,000 customers.
Still a lot of
have
people.
Power right now, and it's
lot
cold too.
It is, and a lot of people are, obviously trying to assess the damage in Pasadena. Our Donnelly Keith has a look at what she's seeing there.
This is here on Spencer Highway at Randolph Road. As you can see, the roof was completely ripped off this entire plaza here. And even as we spin around, there are a number of downed trees, lots of metal and sheeting from the buildings on the road right now. Police are directing traffic because at this intersection, the traffic lights are out. Lots of telephone poles have been yanked down. Even as we've walked this area, there are lots of telephone pole wires that are down on the ground. CenterPoint is in this area. And Darlene, if we could pan down this way a little bit, there's another down pole right here. Even as you look down this road, you can see lots of just a mangled mess as you take a glance across the tops of the buildings there. Now, Alex here. Alex, I know you've been out and about. You've been helping the fire department. And if you could just kind of move this way a little bit, Alex, and we can see this mangled mess of a building right here behind you. You can come this way. And you've been out helping the fire department go into some of these buildings right here. And what have you been out doing?
No, just trying to help wherever we can, trying to see if there's people there. The lights, that power, is on. So we're trying to see if somebody needs help.
Wow.
Helping somebody to turn off the waters and everything.
Yeah. And have you found any people inside any of the buildings yet?
Not on this building, just on this one, but they came out. And over there, a couple of ladies, but they came out.
Wow.
They're okay.
Well, thank God for you. Thank God that you're out here helping.
It's our neighbors.
And I know you said you want to get back at it, so thank you so much for stopping for a second. I know you're going to go back into the buildings with the fire department and make sure they're all clear. Thank you so much, Alex, for everything you're doing. And Norma, I know, Norma, you said when you came out of your complex that a number of the trailers were tipped on their sides.
Yeah, there's a trailer park back here, and there's quite a bit of RVs flipped over, and there was quite a bit of people in there, maybe 3 people on each RV.
And so you went in, you were also trying to help make sure everybody was out safely.
We were trying to help, yes, trying to help the people, and water pipe busted and power lines down.
Oh, goodness gracious.
Yes.
Well, please be careful. Thank you so much. Lots of power lines down in the area. CenterPoint is out there trying to get to all of the power lines that are down, and they're trying to make sure everyone knows to stay away from those down power lines. For now, we are in Pasadena. I'm Donnelly Keith, Fox 26 News.
All right, and speaking of Pasadena, we were talking about the animal shelter there. So just getting an update from that animal shelter. It's the Cypress Lucky Mutt Rescue, and I pulled up their Facebook page, and that's where they're updating a lot of their people there asking for help. That's because they say that the shelter was destroyed by a tornado today. We have a volunteer heading there now to see how we can help. All of the dogs are going to need a safe place. Now, there's about 70 animals, and like you were saying, Caroline, 2 of them were hurt, and they have been taken to other vets. Now, they need a safe place. If you have any room, even in your garage, and have the heart to open your home to any of these poor animals, now is the time to step up and help. This is going to take a rescue village to be able to get all of these animals that have been basically displaced, because right now they are in a temporary facility that wasn't damaged by the storm. So that is something that is a way that you can help out if you can. And again, that's on their Facebook page. Now, I do know that the National Weather Service did confirm, like Ramisha was saying, just to give you an idea of where this tornado was going, that the tornado moved across southern Harris County near I-45 Beltway 8 South, and then continued east into the Pasadena area, Deer Park, and the Houston Ship Channel. So just so much destruction along that path, which is why we're seeing so many people who are seemingly displaced from their homes, the apartment complexes, the vehicles there as well, and like we just told you about, the animal shelter.
And this happened right in the middle of the school day, of the work day, at a time where a lot of people may have been getting lunch or, you know, going to pick up kids from school soon. A lot of the schools went into shelter in place orders so that they could remain safe. Some of the buses had to be held up so that the students could safely get on the bus and those buses could travel. So there were all kinds of delays and things going on. But as we know right now, all the students did remain safe from the ones that we have been able to talk to. But I mean, this definitely hit at a dangerous time of the day.
It definitely scared, just as a personal experience. I didn't really know what shelter in place meant for school districts, but that means you can't pick up your child. So, you know, you have a lot of parents that are panicking because, say, for instance, their school is out of power, so they want to just go pick up their kiddo. But if you're in shelter in place, that's kind of a situation where you are stuck and you're just kind of waiting. So, you know, for me personally, I wasn't able to pick up one of my children, so you know, I let people know here, but everything's fine. And like you said, everything went smoothly. All these school districts have plans in place, which is great, and they keep in constant communication with the parents so that they're able to pick up their child when needed. And this right here looks like it's the animal shelter where all of those animals are being transferred over to the facility, which is not damaged. Again, if you are just joining us, there was an animal shelter in Pasadena, Cypress Lucky Mutt Rescue, which has been destroyed by the tornado today. And so now they're looking for people. There's about 70 dogs to have those dogs with them because they need a safe place to stay. Right now, you can see in this video, they're transferring them to that facility. So when we spoke with the mayor of Pasadena, when he spoke with the media, he was saying that it's not even that bad for us here, but the surrounding areas, it is pretty bad, where we were looking at apartment complexes and vehicles as well. So hopefully things are going to be getting a lot better. Now, we do know that there is a list of places that the city of Pasadena has put out in terms of areas that you need to stay away from. That includes Beltway 8 at Genoa Red Bluff, Fairmont Parkway at Mickey Gilley Boulevard, also Burke at Crenshaw. So just a lot of areas that the city of Pasadena tweeted out this afternoon to stay away from because there's so much damage and it could really injure people.
Rashi, I know that you mentioned this, but I just want to reiterate it as we are looking at images of the Cypress Lucky Mutt Rescue. They did put out on their Facebook page that if you have any room, even in your garage, and have the heart to open your home to any of these poor animals, now is the time to step up. This is going to take the rescue village. They posted a picture of the damage of that shelter. They need your help right now. These animals need your help. So if you're in a position to help out, please visit their Facebook page, Cypress Lucky Mutt Rescue. I'll share it on my Facebook page right now. Obviously, from these images we're seeing, they're trying to figure out what to do with these animals. The animals are probably scared.
Right.
It's a tough situation there.
It really is.
Oh my.
Well, we have our Sherman DeSalle, who is joining us live now. He's in the Pasadena area, one of the hardest hit areas from the storms this afternoon. So Sherman, what can you tell us?
Hey, Rashi, it actually took us a lot longer than it normally would if power was on and lights were working to get to this area of Pasadena. We're right past the intersection of Vista and East San Houston Parkway. We started looking right along the service road and we started seeing some damage along this service road. The traffic is backed up. So if anybody comes towards this direction, just know things will be delayed quite a bit. Chandler's showing you the Harley Davidson sign. It is smashed. And here's what was the most shocking. When we came towards this direction, we saw the guys over there at Harley Davidson. Typically, that's a nice view to look at some bikes in their office. But as you can see, that has been destroyed. That front lobby there and the sliding doors, they're hanging on by a thread. And look over here, pan to the left. Chandler is going to show you the row of motorcycles that are right there. For the most part, I mean, those are Harleys, so they're built pretty tough, but I would imagine that there's some type of damage with the accessories that are on top of it. But even this part of the building, the San Jacinto Harley Davidson building, that's been rocked as well. The entrances are all jacked up. I showed a thumbs up to the guys to make sure that they were okay. They said they were okay. So hopefully everybody's okay. I mean, it's one thing to lose some property and some damage. It's another thing for somebody to be hurt. It doesn't look like it's that way. They seem to be in good spirits despite the damage. We also saw some damage a little bit further up, right by where that IHOP and that Hooters is. And there's a Fairmont Estates hotel right behind this building. We've seen some damage on its roof. Again, we were trying to get to another location, and while we were going there, we saw this. So we decided to stop and just show you how much of the structure is changing. The further we get down into this area, we start seeing more debris, more stuff on the roads. So again, this is the San Jacinto Harley Davidson. Got hit pretty bad, but luckily it looks like everybody's okay. We'll try to get a little bit further down and show you what we can see out here. Back to you.
All right, yeah, it looks like it is pretty extensive damage there, and I'm glad that you were able to get there safely. Like Sherman was mentioning, it took a long time to get to the Pasadena area. I mean, because of all of the flooding and because of the ponding, so it is really hard. Your commute back home is probably going to be pretty tough. Now, Houston TransStar is reporting a lot of areas that are in the red, which means that it's going to take a bit of time. So I've been pulling that up and looking at just what we're seeing in the greater Houston area, and it does look like there are so many of those high water locations. No big accidents to report though, which is good news, but you see these high water locations that do pop up, usually in the areas that are most prone to that kind of flooding. And like you were seeing earlier today, the list is usually the exit ramps and the feeder roads. So that's what you really want to look out for.
And checking back in just on the power right now, CenterPoint Energy is still reporting over 80,000 people without power. In Pearland alone, there's, Pearland alone and Pasadena, that area has over 50,000 people without power just there. So they are working on it. That number has gone down since we first reported this, but it's definitely a major power outage, and we can see the damage of the power lines and everything. This is going to take some time to fix.
It is. Now, the good news is that we can expect dry weather to return by sunset, and we'll be getting an update in a few minutes by our meteorologists. They've been doing wall-to-wall coverage for us, and so that has been very helpful to find out where exactly we have been seeing all that heavy damage and all of that rain. And really, this is a great opportunity, like we've been saying, to download our Fox 26 News app and also our Fox 26 Weather app, because both of those hand in hand give you such great information, and they're great resources that you can have the palm of your hand. So we are going to have our Fox 26 News at 5 broadcast, which is going to start at 5 o'clock, coming up at 5.
Yeah, please stay tuned. We'll be with you guys throughout the evening covering this and updating you on the damage that we don't even know the extent of just yet.
Right. Stay tuned. behind damage in East Harris County. This right here, a look at an apartment complex.
Fox 26 News at 5 starts now.
Now at 5, severe storms have left behind damage in East Harris County. This right here, a look at an apartment complex in southwest East Houston, that is, where high winds caused extensive damage. That's just one of many places where cleanup is underway. What a wild day for weather across the Houston area, including a confirmed tornado. Residents now tallying that damage.
And there is a lot of damage. The good news, though, tonight, most of the bad stuff has passed. We are your Gulf Coast Weather Authority, and we have team coverage tonight. So let's start with meteorologist Ramisha Shade for us.
That's right. The good news is that the worst is over. The severe threat for us has come to an end, but I want to go back between 2 and 2:30 p.m. and notice where we have that red right against the green, that area of strongest rotation pushed right through Pearland and up towards Pasadena, and that's where we've had those tornado reports. We've had several reports of possible tornadoes, but we'll wait and see which ones are actually confirmed, and we'll have the National Weather Service sending out crews as we go into tomorrow morning to survey all of that damage. But it has just been a very dangerous weather day with multiple confirmations of tornadoes so far. You can see that tornado that hit southern Harris County there for the early to mid-afternoon. The good news, though, this big squall line that dumped potentially several inches of rain for parts of the area and produced the severe weather has moved out of our region. It's off to the east, and so the worst is over. However, we do still have a flood advisory that includes Baytown, LaPorte, League City, and Texas City until 6 p.m. because we still got a lot of street flooding out there. We had a lot of rain get dumped on the majority of the area, so we still got the flood threat, and it's still pretty windy out there as well. But at least we've gotten rid of the tornado warnings for our area. There are multiple tornado warnings, but now they have pushed into western portions of Louisiana. Bad news for them, but at least things are starting to calm down for us. This was a super powerful system, a lot of moisture, a lot of lift, instability, a lot of spin in the atmosphere that helped to produce those tornadoes. And all of that moisture out there, wow, just produced tons of rainfall as the system moved through. We had anywhere from 3 to 6 inches of rain reported north and northwest of Houston just from the late morning through the afternoon. And when you're talking about that much rain falling in a short period of time, that usually leads to major flooding, and that's where we've been dealing with for much of the area. 1, 2, potentially 3 inches of rain around the Houston area and points south, but street flooding will be a big issue as we go through the rest of the afternoon into the early evening. Also, a wind advisory still in place for the Houston area and down along the coast through 6 p.m. So there could still be some potential spotty power outages due to the strong wind. Gust 40 to 45 miles per hour, still a possibility through 6 o'clock.
Ramisha, thanks so much. Well, we've been watching some of the images come in all afternoon out of Deer Park, one spot that saw some major damage from the storm.
Fox 26's Natalie, he is live. And Natalie, tell us what you found so far.
Well, Jonathan and Rashi, the damage out here is pretty extensive, and I'm going to show you around this area. Right now, I'm on Center Street and San Augustine, and you can look any direction and you'll see all sorts of debris on the ground, on buildings. Over here, over to my left here is, I'm told, an office building. You can see parts of the roof ripped off. Underneath is a parking lot where there were actually cars parked there as well. You can see some of the rooftop here. We've seen what appears to be like an AC unit that was ripped off and kind of scattered. If you see over on the grass here, this looks like part of an AC unit that was actually blown off the side of this building here. And on the roadside over here just now, we have some crews out here that are starting the cleanup process. You can see what a difference about a half hour makes. When you saw us in the last half hour, it was still gloomy out, a little bit rainy. Now the sun is actually starting to come up, so that gives the crews out here an opportunity to do up some of that cleanup work. And you can see some of them starting to sweep up the debris, the rocks that are kind of just scattered all over the road here. And across the street over there, you can see some businesses that were almost completely destroyed. You can see a little Caesar sign. You can tell just by the little orange that's left up on the sign there. The windows there completely blown out. The businesses the businesses are down here as well, just completely blown out. And if you go over here, back over in here, Ray, I'm sorry, photojournalist Ray is following me here. Back here is a daycare. We talked to some very emotional parents who physically walked through this area here to try to get their kids. They were so worried about them. We caught up with some of them before this. Take a listen. All right, and once again, you can see here some of the parents are still coming by, picking up their kids. They were so worried, many of them driving up to this area, seeing some down power lines, seeing the roads blocked off. They still have some of them blocked off in their detours in this area. Once again, this is Center Street in St. Augustine. So if you are in this area wanting to pass through, doesn't appear like any power is back in this area. So right now people are just hunkering down and kind of waiting to see what they can do in terms of next steps. So we'll be monitoring the situation and bring you all the latest updates. For now, we're live in Deer Park. Natalie He, Fox 26 News.
All right, Natalie, well, thank you. An animal shelter over in Pasadena was damaged by strong winds.
Let's go right now live to Fox 26's Gabby Hart. She is live there. And Gabby, I know you heard from the mayor of Pasadena and some others about what was going on. What's the latest?
You guys, we never want to hear about anything happening to the animals, the animal shelters. We want to make sure that our furry friends, these furry guys, are safe, right? But take a look at this animal shelter in Pasadena. Really unbelievable to look at the entire roof, or part of the roof, not the entire roof, ripped off, pieces of that roof falling down into that animal shelter, forcing, first responders to get here to the scene, assess the animals, and start moving them out of that location. We're here with one woman who was here to adopt this little guy right here in Pasadena. Tell me, what was your thoughts when you heard that this tornado had hit this animal shelter?
It absolutely broke my heart. I dropped my kids off with my grandmother immediately and decided to come up here to try to see if there's anything I can do to help.
Yeah, and you had already gotten him today, or what was that?
We were actually going to come back up here with my son because we were going to pick him up from kindergarten to show him this lovely, sweet thing.
Yeah,
and
were you
bring him
worried
home.
about him?
100% I was. I was already crying and just in a lost state of mind.
And what's happening now? I know you've been helping out. Well, what's the situation with the kennels?
So right now we are taking the dogs and animals from this shelter to bring them over here, but unfortunately we are running low on kennels and kennel spaces. So we're going to try to see if there's going to be any people that can donate kennels, so that way we could try to get the dogs into one okay building, and then the Humane Society is also going to be.
Yeah, they're taking some, right?
They're going to take them, and then some other local shelters are going to take them into.
Very good. Well, we're glad you got your furry baby, that he's safe. You guys, a few animals were injured, but none of them seriously. And Doug, if you walk this way with me just a little bit, you can see that the Houston Humane Society is here on the scene. We're told they're taking about 30 of these dogs. Other partners in animal shelters from surrounding counties are also coming in to help out and pick up some of these dogs to take them out of their hands, because right now they're having to move them into the adoption center because there's just not enough room for all of these guys, and they really have to get them out of this building. I can tell you, we took a walk through there. It was heartbreaking to see. And this isn't the only area in Pasadena affected. Doug, can you get these power lines right here? We're told throughout this area, this entire street, homes were brought off the slab. People are without power. You can see those power lines hanging down over the road there. A very dangerous situation. We've seen police, fire out here. They're really warning the public right now to stay home. They say if you are in Pasadena, stay home. Also, be conscious about calling 911. Right now, the lines are busy. The first responders are overwhelmed. So if you don't absolutely need immediate assistance, save that 911 number for the people who do. We will be out here throughout the evening gathering video. We spoke with the mayor earlier. We'll have a little bit of what he had to say for you later. But for right now, we're going to toss it back to you guys in the studio. I'm live in Pasadena. Gabby Hart, Fox 26 News.
We also heard from the mayor and some of those folks out there, Gabby, earlier saying that this was some of the worst damage they had seen in some 25 years. So considering all of that and what we see behind you, it's a blessing that, there were no serious injuries other than those two animals that you mentioned. That's great to hear. We'll see you in a little bit, Gabby. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Definitely. And if anyone's interested, we're getting that up on our website so you can find out some more information there. Well, power outages, that was a big deal, a huge issue today.
All right, joining us on the phone right now is Al Payton with CenterPoint Energy. We know, Al, that these numbers have been changing minute by minute. What is the latest update?
So the latest update is we're sitting at 82,500 customers that are currently without power, and that's a number that we're going to see fluctuate as we continue to go through the evening. There may be times when we actually have to turn power off in order to bring additional customers back on. So our crews are going to be out working to diligently get our customers restored, but also do so safely. And thanks for your time and opportunity this afternoon to speak with your viewers.
You bet. This is just such helpful information. Now, there's so many people out there that might have their power turn off because, like you were saying, you're trying to turn on power for other people. So what do you say to those folks when it comes to power outages and what they should do in the event it happens to them?
So we always want our customers to stay informed about what's going on. So we encourage all of our customers to sign up for Power Alert Service. That is a system that allows us to communicate with our customers when they are going to have a service disruption, but also let them know when power is going to be restored. So they're always in the know as exactly what we're doing and when their power may be restored.
And Al, if people are looking at the map that we're showing on the air right now, right there in the center is Pasadena, and that's where they saw some of the most significant damage and where right now I believe the most customers are without power. Is that where your crews are focusing, or are you spread out across the area?
So we are actually spread out across the area. We do have a contingent that is focused over in the Pasadena and the Deer Park area. We're also working with our contract partners to help us support a safe restoration activity. And so you're going to see not only CenterPoint Energy trucks out, but you'll also see some of our contract workers and companies out also helping us restore power to our customers.
All right, Al Payton, I know you all are busy there, so I appreciate your time. Thank you so much. And we will keep everyone posted on all of the things when it comes to CenterPoint Energy and getting the power back up. Al, I appreciate it. Well, you can stay up to date on all of your weather alerts and also get hour-by-hour forecasts. It's with the Fox 26 weather app. Now, it's free to download from your app store, and it is such a helpful tool to have, especially during severe weather. Stay with your Gulf Coast Weather Authority. We have more coverage coming up after the break. Today's storms brought some flash flooding to several areas.
Let's check in with our Tom Ziska. He is out live following that. Tom.
Good evening to you. I want to show you right here. There's a mail carrier just proof positive that even rain like today is not going to stop the Postal Service from doing what they do. He was just emptying mail from this blue box here moments ago while you were in the commercial break, and he got splashed by water. This is Beach Nut here. We are about a block to the east of the West Loop, and we've been here a little over an hour. The water has receded to some degree, but it's still high. It's still slowing people down, or at least most people. Outside of the tornado and the wind damage on the east side of the city over near Deer Park and Pasadena, much of the rest of the area handled the rain like it typically handles a really heavy rainstorm. The low-lying areas like roadways like this that collect water indeed collected water. So it is, as we get into the 5 o'clock hour here, quitting time for so many people, traffic is increasing here. So we have seen a couple of cars try to make their way through this high water and stall. We have seen others, bigger vehicles, kind of plow right through. And I will tell you that there's Matt, I'll be on this side of you as well. There's a bit of a sport involved. Let's see how big a splash we can make, see if we can kind of splash the TV people. They've missed out on us completely. But I'll tell you what, this has been a spectacle for people who really hadn't seen much like this. We ran across one woman from California. She's been here a day, and she could not imagine. This is Allie Daniels. Take a listen. Did you know there was rain coming?
Yeah, but not like this.
You just
Is this normal?
This is not normal.
Okay.
So
I don't even know if this is normal or not. Like, this could be a Tuesday for you guys.
well, it is Tuesday, but it's not a normal Tuesday.
Okay.
Yeah. Not a normal Tuesday as well. I did ask Allie how our heavy rain compares to California's heavy rain. She said we're winners completely on that account. We were in the rain since the storm came through. It was really, really heavy, as everybody knows. 3 to 6 inches of rain out near Brookshire, out near Sealy. It came down in buckets. Hail, lightning, wind, the rain as well. But as we drove around, there was no appreciable damage. Some ponding, but there's no wind damage out there to the west side. So that's great news. And when this water recedes, as it always will after a heavy rain, we'll be back to normal here, and we can be thinking about those people on the east side who have things that they have to put back together. For now, we're live on the west side. Tom Ziska, Fox 26 News.
All right, Tom, he's right. Not a normal Tuesday, but probably far too common than it should be here in Houston. I know a lot of people are saying that. Well, our coverage of today's severe weather continues.
We'll be right back.
weather, of course, is the big story today, and we are your Gulf Coast Weather Authority.
So things are looking a lot better, Ramisha. I'm sure
Thank
you're
goodness.
relieved of that, as so many people are.
Yes, we can breathe a sigh of relief, at least from the tornado threat, the damaging wind threat, but we've still got flooding out there. We've still got a wind advisory, so we're not totally out of the woods, but things are much better. But it has just been a really crazy, dangerous weather day. That's why we were trying to prepare you, warn you, tell you to download that Fox 26 weather app, because it's days like today that weather can be life-threatening, and you certainly need to be prepared. You need to have a way to get those alerts, those watches, those warnings, those advisories, and that's why it's so important to have that Fox 26 weather app on your phone or tablet. So hopefully you were able to check that out and see if your area went under an alert, a watch, or warning, because we had several today. In fact, we had multiple tornadoes confirmed across the area. You can see some of those confirmed tornadoes popping up on the map. One in southern Harris County, right around Pasadena and Deer Park. Of course, we had a few others reported. The National Weather Service will be going out to survey over the next day or so. Another tornado reported over towards the Beaumont area. So it has just been a super active day. But the good news for us right now, we've gotten rid of the severe storms. They have raced off to the east. They're actually east of Beaumont now, pushing into western portions of Louisiana. But we've got several tornado reports that we are going to have to talk about, and we're going to have to survey that damage further, because it looks like it is going to be pretty active off to the east, but things are calming down for us, so that is certainly good news. I want to switch gears with our radar and switch to velocity mode and show you that close to 2:30 p.m., right around 2:25, I want to show you that very strong rotation that we had in between Pasadena and Deer Park, and this is where we had reports of that tornado, and you can clearly see that rotation, that notch there, the red up against the green, the rotating wind inside of that storm, and that is why we were so concerned that we did have a tornado on our hands. And yes, that is what we did have confirmed from storm spotters, and now we're starting to see some of those damage reports coming in, and some of that video and pictures as well. We do still have a flood advisory, and this is for the Baytown area, LaPorte, League City, Texas City, through about 6 p.m. This is where we still have that higher risk for street flooding, but any threat for tornadoes is pushed off to the east over towards Lake Charles. Still a tornado warning there in Louisiana, but for us, things are calming down, but we do still have a big problem out there, and that is going to be widespread flooding. Check this out, 3 to 6 inches of rain showing up on our radar. This is radar estimated rainfall up towards Sealy, Katy, Spring, Humble, Waller. Certainly a lot of rain has fallen. Houston area around 1 to 2 inches, so it is certainly going to be pretty messy out there on the roads with that big threat for flooding. We've still got a wind advisory for the Houston area as well through 6 p.m. So watch out for the flooding on the streets. Be careful with the wind. That could cause additional power outages. And keep in mind that we do still have a lot of rain, a lot of water out there on those roads. We also had an unprecedented tornado emergency out there this afternoon. It has never happened in the Houston area. So for more on that, let's head over to meteorologist John Dawson.
Yeah, I want to talk about that a little bit. I think most of us are familiar with the terms a tornado watch and a tornado warning. Hopefully you're aware that that threat level kind of goes from a watch, meaning there's like ingredients or it potentially could happen, and a warning, meaning that it's definitely possible or it could actually be happening. Well, there's a third level that, again, us here in the Houston area never really get to very often. And as a matter of fact, we never have, and that's a tornado emergency. So that's, again, when you definitely need to take action, and it happens when you have a tornado that's on the ground for a long amount of time, because that is something that we want to get that warning out a little bit more. So this has only been around since 2016, so this isn't something that's been around for a long time, but it is the first time that our local National Weather Service office has issued a tornado emergency, and again, happened because of that activity that we saw today. So the tornado survey crews will go out tomorrow, and they'll be able to really clear this up as far as what happened. But we know that there's several reports of tornadoes. This could be one tornado that stayed on the ground the whole way. It could be a thunderstorm that had a tornado kind of pop in and out of it, where there were multiple tornadoes. That's the part that's not real clear. And again, it'll be at least tomorrow morning when the survey crews get out and take a look at things. So the bigger picture future has this system continuing to push off to the east. We are going to see some more severe weather along the Gulf Coast as it does, not here in the Houston area. We have cleared out of that. We switch gears a little bit, talk about our future cast as we see those storms continuing to push away. We're looking for some breezy conditions this evening as the chillier air will start filling in. We'll have that low right about 40 degrees. Sunny and cool for tomorrow. I think everyone's going to be able to enjoy the day. I know some folks will unfortunately have some cleaning up to do. And then another chilly night will be in the 30s once we get into Wednesday night. So taking a look at that 7-day forecast, we are expecting overall a fairly pleasant end to the week. We'll look for those cold mornings on Thursday and Friday. And then when we get back into the weekend, it's time to start talking about some rain chances again. We'll look for a few showers on Saturday, maybe a few more thunderstorms on Sunday. We'll have more Fox 26 News coming up after this break.
She's going to read and then.
Vice President Mike Pence informed Congress earlier today that he discovered documents bearing classified markings in his Carmel, Indiana home from his time as vice president. Now, his attorney says his documents had been inadvertently boxed and transported to Pence's home at the end of the last administration. According to his team, Mr. Pence informed the National Archives on January 18th of a small number of potential classified documents found in 2 small boxes. Now, the documents have been collected by the FBI and are being analyzed.
Well, Harris County District Attorney Assistant District Attorney Wayman Wesley has now resigned after making some controversial social media posts from several years ago, and those tweets and posts resurfaced. A series of tweets made disparaging comments about black women, talking about their appearance, their skin color, many other things. Well, when the DA's office became aware of the old tweets, he was reassigned. In his resignation letter, Wesley said it became clear that his presence was a distraction. Well, our coverage of today's damaging storms continues.
We'll be right back after this break. Welcome back. We continue to follow the severe weather that slammed the Houston area this afternoon.
Let's check in once again with meteorologist John Dawson getting us up to date.
Yeah, this is to the point where now we're talking about good news because we're in the clearing stages as far as what is happening. Current stormy weather happening is on the way out. And again, that's going to be some good news to report. There's a lot of people out there with a lot of cleanup, and things are not pleasant anytime soon for you folks. We'll be thinking about you. And again, we'll look for some good weather to help with that process as we look for the next several days. But this cold front is what's going to continue to push all the showers and the storms away. Upper level system also pulling that all around away from us as well. This is a similar pattern that we've seen, except this low pressure just came a lot further south than what we've seen. The Storm Prediction Center will still look for more severe weather potentials across Louisiana across tonight. And then when we take a look at what's happening for this evening here locally, we've got some very pleasant weather. It is going to be a bit breezy for tomorrow and the rest of the week looking good. But when we take a look at that weekend forecast, unfortunately, there is more rain to talk about. We'll look at that in more detail coming up.
JD, thanks so much. We continue our coverage of the storm damage in the Pasadena area.
Fox 26's Dominic Keith spoke with the tattoo parlor owner.
How's your business?
Tore up pretty good. The whole air conditioning in the back fell through the roof, and some of the ceiling tiles, the water just fell right through. And we got the least of the blow on the building, but the whole floor is soaking wet. The fence blew the door open, everything. We're getting everything out as quick as we can. That way, if the roof does continue to fall, at least it won't get wet.
Yeah.
So,
do you have a guesstimate on how much this might cost you?
woo, I mean, I spent probably about $30,000 or $40,000 building this place, easy. So, but we're getting whatever is salvageable that's still good, that didn't get damaged, and you can always replace everything, but can't replace a life, that's for sure.
Exactly. Nobody was injured, right? Were you guys in here when this happened?
Two of my artists were in here, but I just left 2 minutes before it happened.
Oh, wow.
And the two artists that were working here, he had a client here, and some other clients walked in for a consultation, and it started happening. But
none of them were injured, right?
Nobody was hurt, nope. Yeah, material stuff can be replaced, but
how thankful
it just sucks. I'm thankful. It just sucks because I built this with my own hands. I didn't hire a team to come build my stuff. I built everything by hand by myself. So it's a lot of money, time, and my blood, sweat, and tears went into it. And now it's got to be on hold.
I'm so sorry. How long have you owned it?
We've been open a year, exactly, in January, yep. So, but I've been in the business for 12 years, so I just moved to this location a year ago.
Now a live image that we're giving you here from Baytown. This is a gas line fire. You can see the flames are right there in the center of your screen. It appears to have been sparked by this afternoon's storm. At this point, there are no reports of injuries, but emergency crews are there on the scene tonight.
And here's a look at those apartments over in southeast Houston. A viewer sent us this video. High winds ripped off the roof of the Parker at Ellington Apartments. Now you can see there's quite a bit of damage throughout that complex.
Now we want to take you to this. Rebecca Polanco shared this clip of high water. This is in the Galleria area, an area that typically floods when we get heavy rains like this. You see some cars were making it through, at least some of them did, but those that were going by definitely taking it slowly.
And here's some video of a driver trying to avoid the high water by driving on the sidewalk. This is on Brayburn Valley West, which is in West Houston.
Mark Foodwin shared this image of high water on Cypresswood at Glen Way. This is up in northwest Harris County. You can see that neighborhood flooded. At least 5 cars, in fact, got stuck in the flooding, the water there.
Our photographer Tori Walker was out in the Tomball area this afternoon, and he caught all this heavy rain. The northwest side was hit early as the storm system moved through the area.
We want to take you right now to Bush Airport. Flights were grounded at Bush for a couple of hours this afternoon. Look at all the water coming down there off the parking garage there. This is what it looked like during the height of the storm. At last check, flights have resumed. Of course, a lot of them were delayed, some even canceled. We'll have more news coming your way right after the break.
and where they were taking them, Doug, if you'll walk right over here with me, they were taking them into this adoption center over here, but there's not enough room in there for all of the animals. Earlier at 5 o'clock, if you were watching, you heard that they were running out of kennels and space for these animals. So we saw that the Houston Humane Society came and they took some of the animals, as well as other animal shelters and partners have been pulling up to this adoption center and really helping out everyone wanting to make sure that these animals are safe. And after our story aired, we saw or told people that there was a need for kennels. We saw more people coming out. Some of them donating kennels. Volunteers have been showing up here. Everyone just trying to pitch in whatever way they can. We've seen families coming with blankets and things of that sort. So everyone definitely concerned about these animals tonight. This was obviously quite scary and shocking for them. Thankfully, no animals died in this, which is miraculous if you look at the damage of this roof. Now, a little later on tonight, we will show you inside of that shelter what it looks like. And we'll also hear from the mayor and first responders about what's next for this shelter and what's going to happen to all of these animals moving forward. So we'll check back in with you a little bit later, but for now I am live in Pasadena. Gabby Hart, Fox 26 News.
Gabby, remarkable that no one was injured in that animal shelter. Now we're looking at Rebecca Polanco's. She shared this clip of high water in the Galleria area. You can see there cars were making it through, but they had to take it pretty slowly. Also, flights were grounded at Bush Airport for a couple of hours this afternoon. This is what it looked like during the height of the storm. At last check, flights have resumed. You can stay up to date on all of your weather alerts and get hour-by-hour forecasts with the Fox 26 weather app. It is free to download from your app stores. Just stay with your Gulf Coast Weather Authority. We'll update you with everything you need to know. Prosecutors have filed a motion to raise bond for a man accused of stabbing his wife multiple times. Jared Dyke is charged with murder in the death of his wife, Angie Diaz. Bond was originally set at $500,000, but the state says it should be at least $1 million, citing his behavior following a previous arrest and the violent nature of his wife's murder. Breaking this evening, Vice President Mike Pence informed Congress today that he discovered documents bearing classified markings in his Carmel, Indiana home from his time as vice president. According to his team, Mr. Pence informed the National Archives on January 18th of a small number of potential classified documents found in 2 small boxes. The documents have been collected by the FBI and are being analyzed. Well, Google is being sued by the U.S. Department of Justice for the second time in just over 2 years. It's another antitrust lawsuit targeting its advertising practices. The suit is seeking to break up the ad business to avoid cutting off competition for internet searches. Google's parent company, Alphabet, expected to report earnings next week. And that wraps up your rundown. Coming up, county officials in San Diego combating the fentanyl crisis by giving the medication to fight the overdose.
The Fox 26 weather app with more features in one easy-to-use screen. Current weather at a glance, high-resolution interactive radar, severe weather alerts, video forecasts, and much more. It's the power of your Gulf Coast Weather Authority in the palm of your hand. The Fox 26 weather app. Download it today.
Officials in San Diego are trying to fight back the growing fentanyl overdoses in the county. Fox's Jamie Chambers takes us to learn about the new plans they have to tackle this growing crisis.
Officials are sounding the alarm that San Diego has become the epicenter for the fentanyl crisis.
Purdue and other pharmaceutical companies that are ultimately responsible for the huge increase in opioids in our country, knowingly addicting our children while profiting billions of dollars. As those settlement dollars come in, Jamie, a part of that is dedicated towards an aggressive education campaign.
County officials are now rolling out their own medication in an attempt to reverse the effects of fentanyl in an acute overdose situation by providing naloxone. The nasal spray naloxone can reverse the overdose effects if given in a timely manner.
I would encourage any community member, put it in your first aid kit, even if you don't think there's something going on in the home or that your kids are involved in something, but maybe they're friends.
The Department of Justice says more deadly fentanyl is being seized at the borders of San Diego and Imperial counties than at any other of the nation's 300 other ports of entry. Now the powerful synthetic opioid has become the leading cause of death for young adults between the ages of 18 and 45. County supervisors say with a grant from the Health and Human Services Department, naloxone is being given out to anyone in the community who may want to have it on hand. All they need to do is ask a sheriff's deputy.
It affects everyone. It's not just the homeless individual or the person that people think, oh, they're just a drug addict. There's no such thing as just a drug addict anymore. There are people who really need this help, and we want to be there for them. That's it.
The county is reporting 1,117 people died because of overdoses. That's why they're making this naloxone drug available to anyone that simply asks a county sheriff. That's the very latest from Kearney Mesa. Jamie Chambers, Fox News.
All right, now back to our weather coverage. It's been a crazy several hours. Ramisha Shade has been in the studio tracking tornado warnings, tornadoes touching down in our viewing area. It seems like we're in the clear, Ramisha. What do you know?
The good news, Caroline, is that the worst of this weather has pushed out. I'm not expecting any additional tornado warnings, severe thunderstorm warnings. Our wind advisory is gone. The flood advisories are gone. It's still on the cloudy side out there, but looking great. Much calmer across Houston, cooling off. Temps in the low 50s. So I definitely can give you the all clear for any severe weather threat for this evening and tonight. And we certainly need it because a lot of you are going to have to clean up. You may have some things across your yard that have been blown around. Some of you are dealing with major structural damage. The reason we had multiple tornadoes reported with this big squall line that rolled across southeast Texas and produced a tornado in southern Harris County, southern Fort Bend County, and even over into northern Chambers County. Reports of a tornado there as well. So multiple tornadoes formed and did damage, but the good news is that all of this is now pushing out and into portions of Louisiana. Not only did we get a lot of tornadic activity, but we also got several inches of rain for some of you. In fact, a new record daily maximum rainfall total for Houston Bush Intercontinental Airport, a little over 4 inches of rain. That shatters that previous record back in 2011 of 1.94 inches. Not only was it in Houston where we got several inches of rain, but even more rain for some portions of our area north and northwest of Houston. In fact, this radar estimated rainfall graphic showing anywhere from 3 to up to 6 inches of rain that fell from the late morning into the afternoon hours. So that is why we had all of that dramatic flooding and all of those pictures of the flooded roads. The good news, though, the heavy rain has pushed off to the east. We do still have a flash flood warning over towards the Beaumont area, but that is now off to our east, and we are starting to dry things out and cool things off. Here's the storm system. We've still got a big threat for severe weather ahead of this area of low pressure and cold front, but that's going to be off into portions of Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, especially down along the Gulf Coast. That severe threat will remain high, with several more tornadoes likely going to develop ahead of this system. Behind the system, we got the cooler air building in, breezy conditions, and even snow, believe it or not, up towards the Texas Panhandle. No snow for us, but those temperatures will get cooler. It's still breezy, not quite as windy as earlier. We had gusts near 50 miles per hour earlier, but now gusts closer to 20 to 30 miles per hour. So that wind advisory has expired for our area. That is the good news. That did end at 6 p.m. and we have gotten rid of that, but it is still going to be cool and breezy for your evening plan. So certainly keep that in mind. Let's talk about what's going to happen for the rest of the week. And a lot of you will have to do some cleaning up. You'll have to start to rebuild, so we need some quiet weather, a couple of dry, quiet days and cool days in store from Wednesday through Friday. 56 for Wednesday, 57 with sunshine for Thursday, and up to 60 degrees with a lot of sunshine as well for your Friday. As we go into the weekend, though, our next storm system will start to push in. It's going to bring about a 40% chance for rain for Saturday, 50% chance for showers and storms on Sunday. And notice those temperatures on a roller coaster ride. We're back up to 70 on Sunday, and that storm threat will be increasing again. Hopefully no major severe weather like we experienced today, but we are going to have that potential for storms. And then after that, we will have more rain, likely pushing in for Monday and Tuesday, still staying on the soggy side. We'll be right back after the break.
Not sure how I feel about this, but lab-grown meat could soon be coming to a dinner table near you. Not even kidding about this. A company from California called Upside Foods lab-grown chicken breasts was ruled safe by the FDA. This comes as research says that raising livestock contributes to harmful greenhouse gas emissions to the planet. Researchers hope that Upside Foods product could give people who want to still enjoy real meat without harming the planet a good option.
We want to be able to be in restaurants as well as retails, whether it's a Safeway or a Wegmans or a Tops.
Well, they're now waiting for the Department of Agriculture to sign off on their product. Upside Foods is aiming to sell lab-grown meat at U.S. restaurants as soon as this year. Their products could hit grocery shelves by 2028. A program in Minnesota is not only giving special group of children a safe space, but also giving them a way to express themselves with music. Now, notable music therapy is helping children who face different disabilities be able to control their impulses by learning instruments. One mother whose 12-year-old son has autism and is nonverbal says she doesn't feel that he's left out now and is finding a passion through music.
This has been just so fun. We're with his peers, he's engaging, he's growing up, next to his typically developing peers just in his own way. And watching him blossom with his peers is amazing.
Well, the therapy has over 15 children ranging between the age of 4 and 16. Another session is set to begin next month. We'll be right back with more severe weather coverage.
Welcome back to our continuous coverage of our severe weather. Jonathan Martin here, of course, joined by Caroline Collins, and we are awaiting a news conference out of the Pasadena area. We're expecting that to start any minute now.
Yeah, Pasadena, one of the areas that was hit particularly hard, damage all throughout that area, as well as in Deer Park. We've seen an animal shelter half destroyed, at least. We've seen neighborhoods that are in ruins, really. Some houses, people are returning home without a roof over their head. So we are waiting for a news conference from officials there that should begin in a couple of minutes.
Yeah, they're saying right around 6:30 at this point, Caroline. We have not heard of any serious injuries. We do know that some of the animals in that animal shelter, at least a couple of them were injured. But again, no people we've heard with any serious injuries. So we're going to continue to monitor that. And in terms of power outages, there are still some 74,000 customers affected across the Houston area. Crews are working around the clock, they say, to try and get power restored. And I know we also have some other images coming into our newsroom as well. I believe some high water from Cypress Wood as well.
Yeah, that's right. When we have those images, throw them up on the screen. We want to show those to you. But yeah, as you were saying, a large portion of our viewing area is still without power. And I mean, people, okay, here's Deer Park. Here's Deer Park. You can see the Cypress Wood flood there. It looks like that street has a lot of water on it.
Now, this is at Glen Way up in northwest Harris County in that area. We were out there earlier, and this was actually sent in by one of our viewers. We know at least 5 cars, they say, got stuck in the water, and this is what a lot of roads, a lot of neighborhoods looked like earlier, although now things are a lot better. We understand the water has receded in at least most spots.
Yeah, it's dangerous in a lot of parts out there. So if you are heading out tonight, you got to be careful.
All right, and our photographer Tori Walker was also out in the Tomball area this afternoon. This is a look at some of the heavy rain there. You can see it was really coming down. As Caroline mentioned, the northwest side was really hit early, in fact, as the storm was moving through the area. A lot of people maybe caught some folks by surprise, although we knew that this kind of weather was coming. Sometimes you just don't know exactly where it's going to hit and when, so a lot of folks were having to stand by.
Now we're going to go out live to, or is this live or is this pictures? This is live pictures of Baytown. There was a fire there. Crews are cleaning up. We believe that this is a fire related to storm damage. We don't have a lot of information right now, but this is the scene in Baytown as fire crews and cleanup crews are working to get a hand on this situation here.
Yeah, we've been hearing about this fire, one of several happening today, again, presumably as a result of some of the storms, the lightning that we had earlier. It looks like from at least this picture, they have a handle on what's going on. We can't really see exactly what structure is on fire or was on fire, but again, crews are out there working. And we do want to go out to our Dominique Keith, who, as she's been there tracking some of the damage in the area as we await for the Deer Park News Conference.
This is here on Spencer Highway at Randolph Road. As you can see, the roof was completely ripped off this entire plaza here. And even as we spin around, there are a number of downed trees, lots of metal and sheeting from the buildings on the road right now. Police are directing traffic because at this intersection, the traffic lights are out. Lots of telephone poles have been yanked down. Even as we've walked this area, there are lots of telephone pole wires that are down on the ground. Centerpoint is in this area. And Darlene, if we could pan down this way a little bit, there's another down pole right here. Even as you look down this road, you can see lots of just a mangled mess as you take a glance across the tops of the buildings there. Now, Alex here. Alex, I know you've been out and about. You've been helping the fire department. And if you could just kind of move this way a little bit, Alex, and we can see this mangled mess of a building right here behind you. You can come this way. And you've been out helping the fire department go into some of these buildings right here. And what have you been out doing?
No, just trying to help wherever we can. Yeah. You know, trying to see if there's people there. The lights, that power, you know, is on. So we're trying to see if somebody needs help. Wow. Helping somebody to turn off the waters and everything.
Yeah. And have you found any people inside any of the buildings
not
yet?
Not on this building, just on this one. But they came out. And over there, a couple of ladies, but they came out. Wow. You know, they're okay.
Well, thank God for you. Thank God that you're out here helping.
It's our neighbors.
And I know you said you want to get back at it, so thank you so much for stopping for a second. I know you're going to go back into the buildings with the fire department and make sure they're all clear. Thank you so much, Alex, for everything you're doing. And Norma, I know, Norma, you said when you came out of your complex that a number of the trailers were tipped on their sides.
Yeah, there's a trailer park back here, and there's quite a bit of RVs flipped over, and there was quite a bit of people in there, maybe 3 people on each RV.
And so you went in, you were also trying to help make sure everybody was out safely.
We were trying to help, yes, trying to help the people, and water pipe busted and power lines down.
Oh, goodness gracious.
Yes.
Well, please be careful. Thank you so much. Lots of power lines down in the area. CenterPoint is out there trying to get to all of the power lines that are down, and they're trying to make sure everyone knows to stay away from those down power lines. For now, we are in Pasadena. I'm Damalie Keith, Fox 26 News.
All right. Well, Fox 26's Sherman DeSalle also live at an apartment complex in Pasadena, where just last half hour he spoke to a man who was inside with his baby when a portion of his roof came off of his apartment. Sherman, what are people telling you there now?
Yeah, Caroline, not just a portion, the entire roof came off of his 2-bedroom apartment on the 3rd floor. Michael Williams, he's already getting some help from some residents. Some people passed off some diapers to him, just trying to look out for him and his 7-month-old. Take a look, though. It's getting a little dark, so Chandler's going to walk around. Imagine coming home from work and you see this, the place that you would turn the key to. It's not livable. A lot of people are just trying to figure out what they're going to do tonight. Some were lucky enough to where they lived on the 1st or the 2nd floor, so they didn't have as bad of a structural damage as some people, but others live on the 3rd floor, and it looks just like that. Point up, Chandler. That roof right above that building, that unit right there, is gone. A lot of people just trying to figure out what to do. Thankfully, though, we haven't heard of any severe injuries or fatalities, and this place is a mess. And a lot of people just, again, trying to figure out what they're going to do tonight. We have seen a large presence of EMS and fire personnel making sure that people are fine, but they also advise people to find a safe place, because as it gets darker, as it gets later, they're afraid that some looters might be coming to this area. So a lot of people just taking that advice, packing a few bags, and trying to find a place to go. So again, with Parker and Ellington, are not too far from the Alameda Genoa exit. A lot of people are just trying to figure out what to do tonight. Back to you guys.
Sherman, I do have a question for you. Have you heard that the Red Cross is available to help? Is that what people are being told to do?
I myself have not seen any Red Cross members out here. Whether the residents have been told that or not, that's yet to be determined for me as well. I haven't seen any Red Cross personnel, but typically I've been through a few of these. I know that once damage gets assessed, Red Cross does come by and check it out. Then they could have been here prior to me getting here, but I have not myself seen them on this property. We have gotten in touch with a couple of people who are here. They passed us their numbers just in case people want to help them out, like Michael. He was on the 3rd floor. Imagine being in the room with your 7-month-old baby and the entire roof collapsed, but thankfully they were okay.
Well, that's the thing about living in an apartment. You're on the 3rd floor, and you know you can't really get to safety. Sherman, thank you for that report.
All right, right now we are going to go to Deer Park, where officials are holding a news conference updating us on what they know.
From debris and/or down power lines. We're in communication with CenterPoint. They're in the process of getting a lot of their personnel out here to assist with getting our power situation dealt with. The biggest scenario right now is San Jacinto Manor, an assisted living center, had some significant damage. We have reports of approximately 3 patients that's been transported to hospital. 4 patients have gone with families, and the remaining constituents, residents, are being transported to 4 other facilities in the region. There's approximately 62 residents that are impacted in that facility. As of right now, we have no injuries that we're aware of from the tornado or any casualties. So we're grateful for that. We've had a lot of calls in regards to parents and their students, because this hit approximately in the time frame when school was letting out. I can say from the school district that all students have been accounted for, and if they've not been arrived at home yet, they are all being transported. And at the latest report of just a few minutes ago, the Deer Park ISD will be closed tomorrow. Deer Park ISD will be closed tomorrow. So for the next 24 hours, it'll be imperative as CenterPoint moves in that most of the constituents locally will stay off of the roads in regards to the areas that are going to be barricaded, as our Public Works and our police department will be working with CenterPoint to get in. We have a lot of down power lines across the area. There's obviously a handful of facilities. We have approximately 25 to 30 that we are aware of that's had significant damage, and most of y'all are showing on the news here those that are right around the area. So that's the latest that we have now. This is a very fluid situation, but as we get into the night and the evening rush hour gets over, we'll be able to get CenterPoint in to assess the situation, and I would say the power will be the biggest issue over the next 24 hours of getting that addressed and getting that turned back on.
Can you clarify the people at the assisted living center that were taken to the hospital? Was that for minor injuries, or are they just keeping them at the facility?
It's an assisted facility, so I'm not for sure the exact extent, but there was no recorded injuries that we're aware of from the tornado, but they were just transported for various scenarios pertaining to their health.
And at that facility, everyone is accounted for? All
Yes, yes.
When you see the damage on your streets, and you're able to stand here and say no casualties, no injuries, are you surprised by that?
Yes and no. I mean, it was because my house was not impacted per se, but it went right over my house and you know, all the trees, so I was there. So yes, there is one aspect of it that's amazed that no one got injured, but I'm just grateful to God that he was able to protect life in here, and so we'll deal with the property and we will recover and rebuild, and we'll get the power back on. I ask for patience over the next 24 hours in regards to the power situation. I would highly recommend if you're in Deer Park without power, it might be a few hours before that gets addressed. I know I've been in communication with CenterPoint, so that is being addressed as rapidly as possible.
Is it your understanding that CenterPoint will be working overnight, or are they going to start back again under daylight?
I can't answer that directly. I have been in communication with them, and they are gearing up to get personnel. I know we have seen crews in Deer Park already, so I'm not sure the exact status. I'm waiting for some updates and reports from that. Any aspect of communication, you can email me at mayor@deerparktexas.org, and we'll start sending out reports as we get them over the next number of hours through the evening.
There's tons of tree damage out there too. We already almost immediately saw crews from the city out to help people get rid of that. Anything that people can do to kind of assist you guys in that process?
You know, we've had people, business owners, residents, everybody taking ownership, which it doesn't surprise me because that's Deer Park. Within a few minutes, I walked out of my own house, and the neighbors were walking up and down, checking on each other, removing debris from the street. You know, that's Deer Park. So I was really pleased that before I could even get here to assess the scenarios, I went by at least the 3 or 4 crews from Public Works that were already addressing that. But that's Deer Park at its finest, responding in a time of need.
Tell us about the resources available. It's a very chilly night. There's no power. I mean, what kind of resources are available for extra assistance?
Well, short term, as you know, it takes a little while to gear up. I've been in communication from the governor's office all the way through the state and the county level. So I'm sure by in the morning there'll be a lot more of the situation assessed, so we'll have a better idea. I would highly recommend, if you're in Deer Park and you're without power, you should take the necessary steps to either go with some family members or somewhere outside of the city, because I'm sure it'll take most of the night into tomorrow to assess all that.
Do you have any percentage numbers on like how many people have actually lost power?
No, I don't have any of that data, and like I was just on the phone with CenterPoint a few minutes ago, and they were sending me information that I don't have currently, but all that will be coming forth as soon as we get it. We're going to start spitting it out on a regular basis. So again, email me if you're not on already the distribution list, and we'll make sure you're added so we can spit that out as we get it through the evening.
Are there any centers open for the residents now?
There's not any right now that we're aware of, and it'll most probably be a last resort. We would prefer, with the scenario of the power outages and all the damage, that if you need some kind of assistance and shelter, to find it outside of Deer Park.
Of the structures with significant damage, are you aware of any school district buildings that have structural damage?
I have heard of some minors from the high school just on the roofs, but I don't think there's any significant. I think their biggest issue, talking with the school district, is just the power outages. So I'm sure, like we are assessing, several of our city facilities have minor roof damage around it. I don't know if it'll impact the totality of how we'll be able to provide city services over the next few days. But as we get into tomorrow, when the sun comes up, we'll most probably have a much better count on the data on all this kind of stuff moving in tomorrow, and we'll be working with the school district to make sure we provide all that.
Tell them about security time at Deer Park.
We're business as usual. I don't see us doing anything outside the norm. Obviously, we'll have patrols out. Chief, is that an accurate statement? Do we have anything that you see that we'll need to do differently than what we normally do?
We've gone to 12-hour shifts, so we will have more people out. Several other agencies are here too.
Any other questions? Well, thank you for coming out. Did Channel 2 ever make it? Okay. All right. Thank you, guys.
All right, you were just there listening to Jerry Mouton, the mayor of Deer Park, giving us an update on the situation today. One of the things he said first and foremost, Caroline, is that there were no injuries, no deaths from today's storms, but certainly a lot of damage to a lot of structures.
Yeah, and another important note, Deer Park ISD is closed tomorrow. That's Wednesday the 25th. Deer Park ISD closed. No schools. Some of those schools have some major issues that they're going to have to clean up, and that's going to take a while. And he also mentioned that there's a lot of down power lines, so that it might take a long time for power to be restored. So please try to be careful as you're surveying and cleaning up the damage, but all students were accounted for.
Yeah, that's good news. And yeah, you're right. He said the biggest issue right now is the power. The flooding has receded. The damage is done, but now crews are going to be out there, Centerpoint, working around the clock. At last check, I believe there were about 65,000 customers in the Deer Park, Pasadena area without power. So they're going to be working around the clock. But again, no injuries, no deaths reported, but we are going to continue to follow everything and the cleanup. So the best way to stay on top of that, including any breaking news stories, is always with our weather app. You can download it right now. It is free in the Google and Apple stores. We've got more coverage coming up after the break.
Wednesday night at 9.
We're absolutely at a breaking point.
A growing city.
In fact, we're way beyond the breaking point.
A rapidly shrinking number of first responders.
The truth of the matter is they're understaffed, underpaid, overworked, and it's come to a head.
Can the problem be fixed? Wednesday on Fox 26 News at 9.
How can you describe Whataburger's honey barbecue chicken strip sandwich? The chicken just has a certain... And then there's the sauce that just gives you a little bit of... And the cheese? It's the exact right amount of... It's almost too hard to put it into... Yeah, that's the word I'm looking for. The honey barbecue chicken strip...
At Rooms to Go. New eye-catching colors across an incredible selection.
want everyone to know that CenterPoint Energy is going to be here as long as it takes to restore service safely and as quickly as possible. Currently, outage tracker is reporting 70,000 customers without power. Again, as mentioned earlier, that's something that we're going to see fluctuate as we go through the evening. But we do have crews that are working diligently to safely restore power in those areas.
And Al, the majority of the outages right now, as I'm looking on the tracker, are in the Pasadena Deer Park area, some 65,000 customers or so. So what would you say to people living there? Can they expect power to be restored tonight, or will this be something that will take a couple days perhaps?
So we are still assessing the area to look at the damage that was caused today. We do expect that we're going to have a number of customers back on over the next 12 hours, but past that, we're not really sure, as we still need to assess some of the areas that were impacted today. We've got a number of crews. We're fully staffed. We've got our skilled crews, and they're currently working to assess the damage. We're also staging some of our crews in the Deer Park area, so we'll be close to that area and able to respond to continue our work efforts.
One more question before you go. I know you had told us earlier that there could perhaps be some fluctuation with the numbers of, people whose power is on now, maybe off at some point. Is that still the case, or do you feel like we've gotten through the worst of the outages?
Again, as we continue to assess, there's going to be some things that we find, so we will probably still see those intermittent outages occur as we bring additional individuals on. One thing we do want everyone to know is that we have installed a number of smart grid systems to help us identify outages. So at this point, we don't necessarily need anyone to call in to report outages. We do have that information, but we do want them to call us if there are any emergencies, such as fallen power lines. So they can continue to call us at 713-207-2222 to report any damaged utility equipment or fallen power lines.
All right, Al Payton with CenterPoint Energy. We know you and your crews will be working well into the night and into tomorrow. So thank you for all you do, and we'll be checking back with you later on. Thank you.
All right, Ramisha Shade is now live in the studio tracking the system that moved through. We're in the clear now, but Ramisha, what can we expect over the next couple of hours?
Well, Caroline, things are thankfully calming down, but this was a powerful and dangerous storm system. We knew it had a lot of moisture with it, a lot of instability, a lot of lift, and a lot of spin, and it produced multiple tornadoes across our area. Of course, we've been talking about that damage around Pasadena, Deer Park. Southern Harris County went under a tornado warning and even a tornado emergency, which is unprecedented for this area. That's usually only issued when there's reports of a large and damaging tornado on the ground. So you can see this big squall line has shifted to the east, but even over towards the Beaumont area through Lake Charles, several additional tornado reports. So off into Louisiana, that's where the worst of the weather is located now. We still have a few tornado warnings that have been coming out. This is going to be east of Lake Charles, so this is completely out of our area. So I do not anticipate any additional severe weather for us. But it certainly was a rowdy afternoon, but things have calmed down. We did have a tornado watch at first. That was earlier when conditions were determined to be favorable for tornadoes to form. And then we started to get tornado warnings. You may wonder, what's the difference? Well, a tornado warning means that a tornado has been spotted or indicated on our radar. We also had a very rare tornado emergency for portions of southern Harris County. This is only issued when a tornado has been spotted. It's usually a large, dangerous tornado, and it usually poses a severe threat to human life and maybe even catastrophic or devastating damage. So the National Weather Service actually issued a tornado emergency around 2:30 p.m. this afternoon because we did have reports of a large tornado on the ground. So thankfully, things were not any worse, but of course, we do have a lot of damage, and our thoughts are with all of you that have been impacted by those tornadoes, but at least we are talking about conditions improving. The severe threat has ended. Not only did we have tornadoes, we had several inches of rain as well. A new daily record rainfall maximum for Houston Bush Intercontinental Airport. A little over 4 inches of rain fell from the late morning through the afternoon hours. In fact, 5, close to 6 inches of rainfall estimated with our radar north and northwest of Houston. So this would include areas up towards Spring, Waller, Katy, and over towards the Sealy area. So that is where we had the heaviest rain and that big threat for a lot of that street flooding. And we had numerous flood advisories as well. Even a flash flood warning at one point. We also had a lot of wind out there, even outside of the severe thunderstorm warnings and tornado warnings. We had a wind advisory that did end at 6 p.m. Now wind gusts are down to about 20 to 30 miles per hour, stretching from Tomball through Houston and down towards Galveston instead of 50 mile per hour wind gusts. So overall, things are improving. Here is the powerhouse storm system that brought the big time severe weather today. We were on the warm side of it. We got the storms that produced the tornadoes and the very heavy rain. That is now pushed off into Louisiana, Arkansas, Mississippi, Alabama. But on the colder side, on the backside, we've got snow just to the north and west of Dallas. In fact, that rain over Dallas right now expected to switch to a little bit of light snow as we go into tonight. So that just gives you an idea of how powerful this system is. No snow for us, but it is going to be breezy for this evening and tonight, but it will be dry. We are calming things down, that cooler, drier air building in. It is going to be jacket weather. Temperatures tonight dipping to the 30s to 40s across the area, but it will be a beautiful day for tomorrow. Great weather for the cleanup that I'm sure will be getting going for some of you. Sunny, cool, and dry as we go into tomorrow. In fact, a pleasant finish to the work week. Temperatures will be on the cool side for the next few days, highs in the 50s, but look at that sunshine. No threat for storms, at least not until this weekend. It looks like Sunday could be another fairly busy day with storms. Hopefully nothing like today, but at least we have a few days to recover and enjoy some quiet weather.
Ramisha, we're going to ask you a couple questions, but right now I do want to update you. The Pasadena Police Department put out a tweet 40 minutes ago that the Salvation Army will be at Yellowstone Drive and Burke Road at 6:30 p.m. That's by where that animal shelter is that got really damaged. They'll provide meals and information regarding shelters. Also, the Red Cross will be on site distributing cleanup kits. So if you need help right now, if you know somebody in that area who might need help, send them right now to Burke Road and Yellowstone Drive. The Salvation Army and Red Cross will be there.
That's great to hear. And Ramisha, before we go, I do want you to just talk a little bit again about the weather app. I know we always talk about it, but in a day like today when people lose power, they only have their phones perhaps. Our weather app really is the way to go because that is the way you actually can see what's going on in your neighborhood. And that's what we saw today, different neighborhoods being affected differently.
You are so right, Jonathan. It's days like today that you realize just how important that Fox 26 weather app can be. You may be watching us on television, but if you lose power, you can pull us up on your phone. Make sure to head to the App Store if you haven't already. Hopefully you did before this system moved through, but head to the App Store, search for Fox 26, and make sure that weather app is downloaded.
All right, make sure to follow our website for all of these updates as we continue covering the aftermath of the storms that ripped through the greater Houston area. Ramisha, thank you so much for keeping us updated all day long. And join us back here tonight on the news at 9 and 10 o'clock.
This is the Fox Weather Alert.